Shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Fifer, served up by Wendy's on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan. Download the Wendy's app today.
It is that time again. Welcome in as we are broadcasting live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, out here at the Hole-in-One Challenge, brought to you by Lexus and The Fan. Your chance to try and get yourself a hole-in-one on that island hole out here at Summerfest. Come on out, say hi, hang out with us right by the Generac Power Stage as well. Lots of good stuff going on. Some group named the Killers, I think, is playing tonight. I'm seeing some Killers T-shirts walking around, Charlie. Do you know who they are?
Do you not know who the Killers are?
Do we know who they are?
Yeah, Mr. Brightside, like one of the most famous songs of all time. Like one of the best.
Are they old then?
Not like old. I would say like 20, 30 years old. They probably started in the 90s, so not that old.
Okay, so they're like 40s, 50s then.
Yeah.
Age-wise. Okay, yeah. All right, very good. Yeah. No, I don't know who they are. Maybe if I heard a song or something.
Mr. Brightside.
Maybe
I
would know.
Brightside.
Probably. I probably know that song. So lots of, I shouldn't say that. There's not a lot of people out here. Really, there's a lot of walking space. We walked in here what time we walk in here at? Like 1:45, 1 o'clock? I couldn't believe it. I thought it would be packed. It's a Friday of Summerfest, so if you're thinking about coming down to Summerfest, try and figure out whether or not you want to or not. Plenty of room for you to come and hang out. If you got kids, that huge playground area that they have this year, that I'm pretty sure is expanded. That's heaven for those kids. I promise you. If your kids like playgrounds, that is all that and more. Coming up on today's show, as always, it is a Friday. So Andrew Wagner, Forbes Sports Brewers writer, brought to you by Focus Baseball. We'll talk to Andrew Wagner about the Milwaukee Brewers, who sit 3 games out of first place, chasing the Chicago Cubs, the traitor, with his team down in Chicago. So we'll talk to Andrew Wagner about that coming up at 3:20. Got to talk about the NBA draft as well. Plus, the Green and Gold update comes up at 4 o'clock. So they put together a panel of, 13, 14, 15 writers. Ty Dunn of the Go Long TD podcast was invited to be one of them on this panel to put together this list. And they put together the list of like the top 30 quarterbacks of the Super Bowl era. Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers both rated, obviously. I think we would all expect that. But where were they rated? Were they rated correctly? We'll get into all of that coming up at 4 o'clock. But we start off today's show with the Bucks, and they made a draft pick. And instead of me trying to say this person's name, why don't we let Dave Babcock and John Horst tell you who he is, as they called in the pick to the NBA last night in the second round.
Yeah.
Hello, how are you?
All the way from last year's workout. Now you're coming back again.
Yeah, time flies so fast. You guys were my first workout. I was so nervous back there.
Yeah. Well, we were really excited to have you, man. Really excited to have you.
Me too. I'm so excited to get back in that gym.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, these guys, obviously, they've seen you a lot more throughout the year, and I got to spend a lot of time with you when you were here for the workout, but man, they said you got so much better. Your body's improved, and we've been tracking you since you were here last year, man. So these guys were literally standing on the table for you the last couple of days. So we're excited to get you, man.
Yeah, so here. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So excited to be there.
The hat looked good on you, man.
Yeah, I think so too.
Bogo Markovic, that's what I'm going to call him. I'm not going to try and do the first name, Charlie. I'm just not going to do it. I'm just going to call him Bogo. Bogo Markovic.
Bogo.
What'd you say?
Bogo.
Right. Bogo, with the second-round pick last night for the Milwaukee Bucks at 47. Nobody's ever seen the guy play, if we're being honest. He was considering coming into the draft last year and then pulled his name out. That's why you heard the Bucks talking about working him out last year. He is not the most muscular guy in the world, and I don't think that should necessarily concern you because Giannis wasn't the most muscular guy in the world either, nor was Thon Maker. Now, the difference is Giannis had the frame to put all that weight on. Thon Maker, they tried to put weight and muscle on that guy, and no matter how much he ate and how much he worked out, they simply could not get him any bigger. So it wasn't because of lack of effort. Now, will Bogo be able to put on all the additional muscle and weight? That's what we don't know. And last night when they made that selection, I tweeted out, I'm like, that's great, right? And they got no help pretty much for this year's team, none whatsoever. Because right away in the broadcast, they're talking about, and they're probably going to stash him overseas for another year or two, and then eventually bring him over to play for the Milwaukee Bucks. He's a power forward, right? He's got some length. He can shoot the ball really well. He can pass the ball really well. He's young. What is he, 18 years old? So plenty of time to work on him and develop him kind of going forward. The thing for me, though, is I don't understand what we're doing. Do you remember when Eric Name of The Athletic was on this show last Friday, a week ago?
I do.
And Eric Name talked about the idea that, well, Giannis has to keep putting pressure on them, and that's why he lets this play out every summer to let them know that, hey, I can ask for a trade whenever I want. You know, John, I trust you, but not that much. So all that nonsense. Well, what was that last night? I mean, if we're trying to compete, we being the Bucks, are trying to compete for something this year, top 5, top 6 seed, and you are saying as an organization, yeah, second round pick, not important. We're so good. That person isn't going to be in our rotation anyhow, so we're going to play for a long-term shot here. Now, again, you know, Jokic was a guy that was a second-round pick. Michael Redd was a second-round pick. You can definitely get star players in the second round, superstar players in the second round. So Bogo may end up being a star player for 10, 12, 15 years for the Milwaukee Bucks. No idea how that's going to play out. My only point in all of this was you are, well, not they, because they haven't said anything, but what a lot of people are saying is they're trying to compete for this top 6 spot. That pick is not going to help you achieve that goal that we're talking about here by making that selection. The other thing that I found interesting last night, Mike Clemens, who comes on this show from time to time and normally talks Packers football, but he covers the Bucks, covers the Brewers, all that. He was on his way to Milwaukee, because he doesn't live in Milwaukee. He was on his way to Milwaukee to go cover the draft for the Bucks last night. And about 25 minutes, 30 minutes before their draft event that was supposed to begin for the media, they were going to get dinner and whatever. That was supposed to start at around 6 o'clock, I think. And then they were supposed to hear from John Horst eventually and so forth. All of a sudden, an email comes out apparently that says, yeah, no, we're canceled. It's not happening. Not going to do that after all. And Mike Clemens shot a little video on Twitter and put it out. And this was, again, before the draft started, right? So this is around, I don't know, I think he put the video out around 5:45, 6 o'clock last night. And just saying it's weird. Like, you have a draft, and you're doing nothing with the media, and then the assistant GM, Milt Noonan, is going to be the guy that's going to talk on Zoom, and not John Horst. So there's a couple things here. And number one, either A, their intel told them that this dude is going to be there for you, which maybe it did. As I've said in the past, most of these NBA teams know pretty much with good idea for the most part. Sometimes they get faked out and smoke screened out, but for the most part, all these NBA teams have a good idea of what they're going to do in the first round. For the most part, most of these NBA teams will have an idea of what they're going to do in the second round as well. Not as accurate maybe as the first round, but you have a general idea. So, as you heard John Horst say, he hasn't seen this dude as much as these other guys. Dave Babcock, who's been in the organization for 100 years, and then Milt Newton, obviously, is another guy that has been there for several years. So those are the guys that apparently were going overseas and scouting this dude and having the interaction, sitting in the stadiums watching this guy play. Now, the league that he played in overseas, to be honest with you, I had no idea. How good is it, right? Because when Giannis came over, it was like watching YMCA tape. Like that league was brutal. It was brutal. There was no real competition. The league that he's in, Bogo's in, very competitive. Is it the top team, top league in Europe? No, it's not top league in Europe. It's probably the second or third league maybe in Europe, but still very competitive. And they've put good players out. That what's that kid's name in Miami? Jovic? Is that his name?
Nikola Jovic.
Jovic, yeah. So that dude, he was the standout rookie or whatever they called it, the same way as this dude was this last year. He had done the same thing in that league prior to him getting drafted by the Miami Heat. So it is a legitimate league, and when you put up legitimate numbers there, you get pretty excited and you get some recognition, and pro teams pay attention to this stuff. And obviously, the Bucks paid attention to it as well. So initially, I was not too thrilled with this pick because, again, it's doing nothing to help you right now. Then you don't have the media stuff with John Horst. But then after I hear John Horst say that he pretty much hasn't seen him nearly as much as the other guys, Newton apparently has seen him more than Horst, that would kind of explain why you would bail. Number one, none of your media guys will know who the heck this guy is, and so that's going to be a waste of time as far as questions or whatever else. And then B, the other part of this is the general manager maybe didn't see him as much as the other guys that were standing on the table, as he said, to make the draft selection. So maybe John couldn't have talked about him with as much knowledge as Milt Newton. So they said, well, we're drafting a guy nobody knows and a guy that I don't know a ton about. I haven't gone over and watched play. You know, he met him and saw him at the workout last year, so forth. I'm not saying he doesn't have any idea, but he has an idea, but wasn't there probably as much as these other guys. So maybe that's the other reason why they bailed on this. Because if that selection, if they thought, you know what, Tanji's going to fall, and he'd be a nice little scorer to have coming off the bench as maybe that 7th or 8th guy next year, or that 8th or 9th guy, or whatever the case may be next year, we think he's going to get there. Okay, well then, yeah, you have it. Because then everybody's going to want to talk about, what do you like about Tanji? You know, how much did you scout him when he was at Madison? And da-da-da-da-da. And did you talk to guard? And then there's all kinds of questions if it's him. Or if it's Cam Jones at Marquette. Or somebody else that these guys actually know from Big East play or Big Ten play that they have a good grasp on that they can ask questions about. But in this situation, maybe not as much. So the whole idea of not doing it, there was something about that. I'm not a big fan of canceling it last minute like apparently they did with that email. But I don't think it's as big of a deal once you hear Horst talk to this kid and talk about everybody else standing on a table for him. I will tell you the thing that I do like about that is, because I don't think it happens all the time in organizations, is a general manager that trusts his scouting department. That's huge. I mean, that's a big thing. I mean, the worst thing that could happen is that you go and you scout all year, and this is your guy, and the general manager goes, well, that's nice, but I like this guy, so we're going to go with this guy. And doesn't even want to hear about anything else. He's just going to pick who he wants. And I think there were times back in the Packers era where Ted Thompson was kind of like that, where Ted was going to take who Ted wanted, regardless of what everybody else thought and what they read on their scouting reports. And you could stand on a table and do everything else, but he was going to go with his guy. So from that standpoint, I think that was kind of encouraging. The question is, should the Bucks' second-round pick have been about now, or should it have been about the future? For you as a Bucks fan, should it have been about now, or should it have been about the future? Because clearly, this was not a now pick last night. Nicolay Law Fan Talk and text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Sound off with a recorded voice message on the Odyssey app, Facebook and Twitter at The Fan Milwaukee, as we broadcast live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook at the Hole-in-One Challenge at Summerfest. Charlie, let's play a little BOGO after he was drafted last night by the Bucks.
Dream come true in many ways. How do you think your unique international experience has prepared you for the NBA?
Certainly from a physical side and mental side, it has prepared me, I think, the most out of anyone here, in my opinion. But I'm just super glad to be here, blessed, and ready to get to work.
I envy you for a number of things, as you're now an NBA player, but also because you speak multiple languages. How do you say I'm an NBA player in Serbian?
Postao sam NBA igrač.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, when we talk about this team and what they're trying to do, I think the concern by everybody as a Bucks fan goes is if Giannis were to leave, he's not. But if that were to occur, how do you find that next star player? Does that next star player come back via trade? Are you able to sign that next star player via free agency? I would say there's a better chance of Charlie or I winning the lottery than of some big name free agent signing here. So that's not going to probably happen. So the best way to find that next star is similar to the way that John Hammond found Giannis, which is, now this is a completely different case here because this was a second round pick, but when John Hammond drafted Giannis, he was not a nobody in NBA circles. He was a fast riser through the late draft process where he started climbing up people's boards quickly as people were kind of discovering him a little bit. But that was a swing for the fences. And if I get a hold of one here and it ends up being a double, we're in really good shape. If it ends up being a home run, then all of a sudden, or a grand slam, which is what Giannis ended up being, then, and we're set for 10 years probably at least with this kid going forward, and we got a legitimate superstar to build around or a star to build around. I don't know if they looked at him and thought that's what it was going to be. I think they were hoping for probably half of what Giannis ended up giving them at the end of the day, but they swung for the fences. And I think they also realized that if it didn't work, John Hammond and those guys were all going to lose their gig. And that was going to be the end of it, and they were probably going to go find a new GM. But it worked out well, and we move forward. This BOGO pick for John Horst is not going to be a determinant of whether or not he has a job this year, right? He's going to have a job this year. They just gave him a 3-year extension in the offseason. John Horst isn't going anywhere. But as far as building a legacy and talking about how good you are at what you do, nobody gives John Horst credit for anything concerning the draft because he hasn't done anything concerning the draft. His best draft pick has been Dante DiVincenzo. That's his best draft pick. Nobody else, for the most part, has worked out for him. So if BOGO ends up becoming a star player that you draft and stash for a year or two out of the second round, and he's the guy that you can build around in Milwaukee going forward, then that's his guy that he can claim for the rest of his career that he was a part of drafting. Right? John Hammond was a part of drafting Giannis. That netted him the Orlando job. And away he went from there. And then eventually he ended up retiring because he was older. But still, that will always be attached to John Hammond for making that pick. Without question. Where are we going next there, Mr. Charlie? Nicolay Law, Fan Talk and Text Line. You can hop aboard as well. 414-677-1250. Should the Bucs second round pick last night should have been more about the now or should have been more about the future? That is the question.
We got Charles on the north side here. Charles, you're on Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Fifer. Let us know what you think about the second round pick, my man.
Well, it doesn't bother me because they got to start building for the future. They really don't have the draft picks over the next couple of years to really do anything, Sparky. And I think that free agency is more important than the draft, to be honest. Really, the draft is used for those picks to be used to get somebody with more experience for a lot of these teams. Because I'll be honest, after Cooper Flagg, I didn't know who any of these other guys were, especially in the later, especially as it got later into the draft. I was like, who is this guy? And I think everybody was saying the same thing. I think after really first maybe 2 or 3 picks, everybody's the same. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily the case. We've seen superstar players get drafted after the top 3, though. Really? Right, Charles?
Well, yeah, but it just don't seem like the draft is like that anymore, Sparky. The draft now is like baseball to me. You hope you get a superstar, later in the first round, later in the second round. It's more hoping than it is knowing.
No, that's fair because you're drafting guys that are so young and it takes time for them to develop. When you're drafting an 18-year-old like the Bucs did last night. I totally get that. Yeah. Thanks for the call, Charles. I appreciate you. We talk about the free agent part of this. This starts next week, folks. We get into the legal tampering period and all that fun stuff with free agency coming up next week, and then we'll see what the Bucs are able to do. For me, the biggest part about free agency, and we'll get into this next week, is simply going to be how many of these guys that have opportunities to go elsewhere will decide to come back and do it again, right? So can you convince Bobby Portis to pick up his option to come back for his final year and try and make another run with Giannis? Can you convince Brook Lopez to come back for, say, a year and try and make a run with Giannis to try and do it one more time, maybe one last time with these group of guys? The guys that I am very skeptical of coming back are guys like Gary Trent Jr. Gary Trent Jr. is going to get a huge payday based off of what he did in the postseason. And I just don't know if that's a guy, me personally, that I want to overpay for. Because up until that playoff run and the second half of the season, nobody is talking about giving Gary Trent all this much money. It wasn't a thing. Now all of a sudden Gary Trent's going to try and get paid. And Gary Trent should try to get paid. I'm not angry at Gary Trent. He absolutely should. One-time deal. Even if he's got to go to some garbage organization like the Wizards or something, take the money and get. So I totally understand that. But that's the thing, right? Who are they going to be able to bring back? Then, once you determine who they're able to bring back, then who can you add to what you have to try and get you into that position, not to have to be in the play-in tournament in that 7 to 10 hole, and be in a position maybe to compete for a top 4 spot. Because 5 and 6, But if you're competing for a top 4 spot, which where maybe you can have home court in the first round and make things interesting, well, then that's a completely different story. Charlie, what say you? Should the Bucks' second-round pick last night have been about now or about the future?
It should have always been about the now. I was kind of frustrated with this pick at first because it felt like it was something that was for the future. And you brought up Giannis and how that was a future play and how they were hoping he would be as amazing as he was. That's the one and only future play that's really truly worked out for this Milwaukee Bucks team out of the guys that they've drafted to be in that same kind of vein of player. A Thon Maker didn't work out for this team. Marjon Beauchamp didn't work out for this team. A.J. Johnson got traded after half a season from this team, and now he's going to be booted out of a Washington Wizards loaded front or backcourt. I think there's a lot of questions with this Milwaukee Bucks team that could easily have been answered by getting a player that has more experience in the draft. And I know there were some guys that maybe me and you were higher on than other people in this, and that didn't really make sense to take them as high as the Bucks pick was. At the same time, those guys can help the team now. And why are we not going for the guys that can help the team now, especially when you're not going to have your second best player on the court all of next season?
Yeah, but this is the thing. When we talk about going for it now, other than DiVincenzo, give me a pick where John Horst went for it now. Who are those guys? He hasn't gone for it now. All but one time, I think, of this entire run, it's maybe been one guy. I mean, Johnson, that wasn't a go for it now guy. Tyler Smith, that wasn't a go for it now guy. Andre Jackson Jr. wasn't a go for it now guy. I know he played in college and all of that, and he was older, but he was definitely not ready. So Andre Jackson necessarily wasn't that guy. I mean, so who are those guys that were ready to come in and play and contribute and be a factor in a rotation? DiVincenzo is the only guy that I can think of off the top of my head, Charlie, where he kind of went for a guy to win now.
But I also feel like when they drafted DiVincenzo, that team was closer to where they are now than what they've been for the past 6 or 7 seasons that Horst has been the general manager. This team has always been ready to compete without the draft. They didn't really need the draft picks in order to keep them in a top 4 or 5 spot in the Eastern Conference.
So in your opinion, then, they were championship made. They didn't need a first-round pick to help them.
I agree. Yeah, I think that is exactly how I think about it.
And that's the arrogance that got you out of the first round every round of the playoffs. That arrogance that you just displayed to everybody here at Summerfest
is the same every single year.
Yeah, sure, of him getting hurt. That arrogance is exactly what got John Horst and the Bucks booted every year in the first round because they thought they were good enough. We don't need draft picks to do this. We'll do this without them. We don't need to add guys that can come in and help play right now. I want you all to keep an eye, and I'm interested. I want you all to keep an eye on the Utah Jazz. That is a team that I want to see what happens because for the most part, they took all college kids that are going to come in that have played, and they're going to come in and be factors probably on that team immediately right out of the gate. Now, they got the Ace Bailey fight, whatever, but they got Tanjay. They added Stephen Crowell. They added R.J. Lewis, I believe, as well from the Big East Player of the Year. That's another guy that they added. So they went out and added guys that were accomplished Big East, Big Ten players, whatever the case may be. And they're going to plug and play him, is my guess, as far as how Austin Ainge is going to run this there. If I'm the Milwaukee Bucks, that's how I'd like to do it. Now, I will give them credit. The Sears pick, the guard out of Alabama, that they signed after the draft, to me, that's a home run. He very well could be a backup guard on this team right away this year. That was more of a now pick than the actual draft selection was, Charlie.
Oh, definitely. Mark Sears was one of the best players in college last season.
Yep.
There's really...
But he didn't get drafted.
He didn't, but that's been the case with a lot of these draft picks. I forget who called in yesterday, but they said it. They were saying that a lot of these guys just happen to be project players that are getting drafted. These veteran guys in the college basketball just don't get drafted because I think a lot of teams know what they're looking at or think they know what they're looking at with a lot of these guys. You get what you get when the guy's a senior in college basketball. There's not as high of a ceiling on those guys. Whereas you can use a draft pick and hope that you get a Giannis or a Jokic in the second round and say, yeah, that's exactly what we were planning. We knew this guy was going to be a stud. We scouted him all the way in Serbia. He's going to be great. That's their plan. Whereas you can watch a Johnny Broom for 4 years or a Stephen Crowell for 4 years, and you know what you have out of those guys.
Right. So tell me again why the other way is a better idea in the second round.
The other way of going with a veteran player for the Milwaukee
Bucks? Tell me. Right. Tell me why again when you're in a team with a window closing quickly that we're thinking about the future. Because that is exactly what he's been doing. And I understand you want to be younger, you want to be more athletic. Well, my God, taking a freshman out of college or taking a junior out of college does not deter the athleticism necessarily of that guy that greatly to where now all of a sudden we should be like, I thought you were trying to get more athletic. You took a senior. That's not trying to get more athletic. He's on the verge of retirement at 22. I mean, come on, man. That's just ridiculous. But you're right. That is exactly how these people treat these picks, and a lot of them, especially if you're in a small market like Milwaukee, they treat the first round the same way. They're trying to find that diamond, right, and trying to sneak one past everybody and outsmart everybody. Oh, I'm going to take a guy, and you all are going to be jealous later, man. I got my guy. Okay, well, maybe you do. And for every Giannis, there's about 100 misses. So from my perspective, at least, this should have been a guy that could come in and help you right now, score the basketball, or play center. Like, I much rather would have had them attempt, and maybe they did, attempt to get up to the top of that round, to get Kalkenbrenner or somebody like that to come in and help them now at that center position. I rather would have done that than do what they did. Now, doing what they did, again, kid may be a star. I'm not sitting here and saying, oh my God, he's awful. What are they doing? He may be great. I have no idea. But I'm just saying the situation you're in as an organization right now, to me, this should have been more about now than worrying about, the future. You've been drafting for the future for several years. None of these guys have developed or worked out. And now we're back in the same situation again. Sears, who you signed after, probably is going to be a guy that will come in and be a part of the rotation. I saw some guy last night. I should have saved the tweet. Said, going to bed knowing that we drafted the next Jokic and Brunson. Very, very happy about that. So calling Sears Brunson and calling Bogo Jokic at the end of the day. How many Jokic comparisons do you think there were last night in the draft? First 2 nights of the draft.
I think probably every foreign player that was a center and can pass a little bit got a Jokic comparison.
Yes, absolutely. Absolute insanity. Potawatomi Sportsbook, that's where you're going to want to go to watch all your favorite sporting events. Another big UFC weekend coming up this weekend. Definitely want to get down there, watch the UFC fights at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Also, you can maybe watch the Crew take on Colorado if you're not going to the games there. Watch soccer, racing, tennis. You pick the sport. They got down at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. 6,500 square feet, 2,000 square foot center screen, over 30 sporting events at one time up at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Then, let's talk about the Potawatomi Sportsbook Kitchen. Amazing food. We're talking about all-day brunch, burgers, sandwiches, wings, 7 different types of wing sauces, homemade desserts and pastries every day at the Potawatomi Hotel Casino to go along with that. I always recommend reserving your seat or table ahead of time before you go to the Potawatomi Sportsbook. All you have to do is go to Potawatomi.com/sportsbook. Potawatomi.com/sportsbook. Coming up next, I saw some very disturbing stats on the Trader and his Chicago Cubs team. Very, very disturbing stats about that team. So we'll talk about that coming up next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Steve Sparky Fifer with you. Time now for your fan weather forecast. 84 degrees, partly cloudy skies out here at Summerfest. High of 86 today, low of 61 tonight. Welcome back. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. The Sparky Fifer with you out here at Summerfest, the hole-in-one challenge, along with Lexus and the Fan doing that today. Again, try and get a hole-in-one on that island hole. It's out there in the Lake Michigan waters. Have your chance of taking your shot at that and winning some great prizes here at the hole-in-one challenge. Still to come, Andrew Wagner, Forbes Sports Brewers writer, presented to you by Focus Baseball. He will join us coming up here at about 3:20. I want to turn our attention now to the Brewers and the Cubs. The Brewers come into today 3 games out of first place because the Cubs were able to get a victory and split that 4-game series in St. Louis against the Cardinals. Must really, really suck to be a Cardinals fan. I mean, you claw your way all the way back into that thing at 2.5 the first 2 games of the series, and then can't figure out how to win one of the next 2. So instead of being sitting there at, 2.5 games back out, now all of a sudden you're right back to being 4.5 games out again, just like you were before the series started. So, yeah, can't imagine being a Cardinals fan right now after getting your hopes up. The Brewers, however, they held serve. They lost half game because they didn't play last night with the day off. Now they get the Rockies coming up tonight. The leadoff show, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, comes up tonight at 6 o'clock. Tommy Wirtz hosting that one. So I was on Twitter, now that I got my Twitter working again finally here in the last couple of days. And Alex Cohen, who's a play-by-play broadcaster, Cubs on the Marquee Network. You know Alex Cohen, Mr. Charlie?
I do, yeah.
So Alex Cohen put this tweet out yesterday. The Chicago Cubs are halfway through their 2025 season. So, Charlie, I'm going to say a player, and then you say a player, okay?
All right.
Kyle Tucker for the Cubs. We can compare him to Yelich, let's say.
All right.
Tucker, 32 home runs he's on pace for, 98 RBIs, and 38 stolen bases. What do you have for Christian Yelich?
All right, so Christian Yelich is currently on pace for 30 home runs, 114 RBIs, and 24 stolen bases.
Okay, that's pretty comparable. I feel pretty good about
pretty
that.
Close.
Okay, now let's go Churio against Pete Crow Armstrong.
All right, with
Pete Crow Armstrong, 42 home runs, 122 RBIs, and 48 stolen bases. Those are stupid numbers.
Yeah, so
absolutely stupid numbers.
Jackson Churio is not as close. He has 24 home runs, or on pace for 24 home runs, on pace for 92 RBIs, 30 stolen bases. He is on pace, though, for 44 doubles as well.
PCA on pace for 40 doubles. So PCA numbers definitely bigger and better. Now, again, if Churio finishes the year with those numbers, let's say he gets to 100 RBIs and has 25 home runs and around 30 stolen bases, that's still a pretty good year, Charlie. I think as a Brewers fan, you're still pretty happy with that.
Oh, I'm very happy with that. That's a great second follow-up season. Now you're not matching exactly the same exact numbers that you hit last year with the same amount of excitement, but it's consistent, which is something we've been looking for with this Brewers team, is just to find some consistency.
All right, the next one up is Suzuki, Seiya Suzuki. So who would you like to match up against Seiya Suzuki? Contreras? I don't know.
I
Who's
believe
the next guy?
Hoskins probably is the next best player batting-wise.
Hoskins, all right. Suzuki on pace, 42 home runs, 134 RBIs, and 38 doubles. My God.
So
what do you got, Charlie?
Rhys Hoskins is on pace for 24 home runs, 80 RBIs, 56 runs scored, and currently 22 doubles.
Then Michael Busch, the first baseman for the Cubs, 26 homers, 92 RBIs, 26 doubles.
Yeah, it really drops off for the Brewers after this. William Contreras would probably be the next best on my list. 12 home runs, 68 RBIs, and 76 runs scored. That's
not a good year. And I understand he's playing with a fracture. There are flying umbrellas knocking people out here at Summerfest. Two came up and knocked 2 people in the head. The other one may go into Lake Michigan if somebody doesn't get it. That was not good. Okay, so Ian Happ, 24 homers, 84 RBIs, 28 doubles. Dansby Swanson, 28 homers, 78 RBIs. Nico Horner, 34 doubles, 30 stolen bases. And as you said, it really drops off for the Milwaukee Brewers at that point. So the Cubs and Brewers, projected stats at a halfway point, gives you an idea of where we're at. Do you feel better or worse about the Brewers' chances of catching the Trader and the Cubs, knowing you're only 3 games back here, about halfway through the season? Do you feel better or worse after hearing those stats? Nicolay Law Fan Talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250, Facebook and Twitter at The Fan Milwaukee. And, of course, it's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's as we broadcast live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, out here at Summerfest by the Hole-in-One Challenge. All right, better or worse about the Brewers' chances after hearing those comparative stats?
I feel worse. Pretty significantly worse, if I'm being honest. What we read from the Chicago Cubs is that they have 3 MVP caliber players based on those stat lines, and 2 or 3 guys after that are all-star caliber players. That's pretty terrifying. With the Milwaukee Brewers, you read about 2 guys. One guy, Christian Yelich, who I feel like could be in that MVP conversation with the stats that I read off, and Jackson Chourio that would have all-star level stats with the stats that I read off. Outside of that, you don't really have anything to be excited about. Bryce Terang is on pace for 32 stolen bases, which I guess is semi-exciting, but that's off of last year where he was on pace for 60 at this point, it felt like. So you're just not seeing a lot of the same excitement that we saw last year, whereas the Cubs are looking like one of the most exciting teams in baseball, are projected to continue to be one of the most exciting teams.
I will tell you, I am feeling much, much better about the Milwaukee Brewers now than I did before. And the reason I feel much, much better about the Milwaukee Brewers as I did before is because I'm not quite sure this is sustainable for the Chicago Cubs. Because to be quite honest with you, I don't think I can come up with one team that put up a lineup of offensive numbers to which they are projected to have for an entire season. I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think they can do it all year. At the same point, I feel like this offensive lineup for the Milwaukee Brewers is eventually going to get going itself, and they're going to put up some fun numbers for 2, 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks at a time here, and all of a sudden those numbers are going to go up, and there's going to be better second-half numbers offensively for the Brewers than there was in the first half. If this Brewers team, doesn't put up better numbers in the second half, then yeah, they're probably going to lose this division by quite a bit. But I really feel like, now Yelich is one of the guys that's doing it right now, right here in the month of June. But Yelich wasn't doing anything in the month of April and May. He changed everything, batting stance-wise, toe tap, no toe tap, all that other stuff, trying to find himself. Now he found himself and he's playing well. Chourio has yet to get on a hot streak. Chourio has yet to look like he did in the second half of last year. I think that's coming. I think you're going to see Chourio just get to be unconscious here at some point. Can I stray away just a little bit here, if you don't mind?
Sure, go for it.
Did you see the piece on Isaac Collins today in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel?
I did not, no.
Dude, Isaac Collins' strikeout numbers are ridiculously horrible. I have not heard a peep out of Pat Murphy talking about his strikeout numbers and him needing to take more walks and yada, yada, yada. Have you heard anything about Isaac Collins' strikeout numbers from Pat Murphy?
No, but it's Isaac Collins, not Jackson Chourio. He doesn't have the same expectations.
I don't care. Like, it should be the same standard. Like, everybody, when you start talking about strikeouts and taking pitches and all this other nonsense that he likes to bring up, it should be the same standard for every player. Everybody, if this is going to be the Brewers way, quote unquote, then that standard should be held up against it. And I love Collins. Oh, I really love taking walks. Do you? Do it a whole bunch. You strike out a whole bunch, though. You got that done. And Isaac Collins has had a way better year than anybody thought. As I've said before, if you want to start talking about X factors for this team, why they're only 3 games out, Isaac Collins is definitely that reason of why they're only 3 games out at this point. The other part of this for the Milwaukee Brewers is this offense has been doing all of this without Garrett Mitchell. And by the looks of it, they're not going to have Garrett Mitchell back anytime soon. So you're doing this right now without a full supply of all the offensive weaponry that you thought you were going to have. Contreras is playing with a fractured thumb to go along with everything else. Hoskins had his hot month, and then he went back into the crapper again for the Brewers. So you're hoping he gets on another hot month here at some point in the future too. But I actually feel better because, again, I don't think I can come up with an offensive lineman, our offensive lineup outside of the steroids era to where you can find these many guys having essentially career years all at once, like we're seeing out of the Trader and the Cubs, and the Brewers are only 3 games out, y'all. Just 3 games. As good as they've played, the Brewers are 3 games back. It should make you feel even better about how things are than how things are right now for the Brewers.
I just can't agree. I don't know. When I look at what I'm seeing between these two teams right now, yes, I agree. The Cubs aren't going to have all these dudes playing at the same kind of level for an entire season. At the same time, after the first 2 weeks when the Cubs started hot, you were saying this. After the first month when the Cubs were hot, you were saying this. After the second month that they were hot, you were saying that they were going to fall off. After the third month, you were saying they were going to fall off. And they still haven't fallen off. All these guys are still playing as hot as they ever have been throughout the whole season. Their pitching hasn't been there, and that's part of the reason they're falling off, but their pitching should only get better. They get Shota Imanaga back yesterday, and he goes 5 one-hit innings. That's going to be pretty exciting. That bullpen is not the best, so you can maybe expect them to fall off a little bit, but then there's the trade deadline. I don't know. I don't think that because their numbers are so high that you can just get excited because you expect at least some of them to deflate. You need to start
Tell me the last team that had a lineup that produced at this clip for the entire season. I mean, seriously, I think you'd have to go back to the 90s steroid era to probably find numbers even close to what this Cubs lineup is doing.
The last time we saw anybody hit 62 home runs in the American League was back in 1950 something.
No. You're saying one player. I'm saying a lineup with these numbers up and down it.
And what I was getting to is that anything can happen. That the way that the offense is changing in the MLB, you're seeing a lot of guys start to hit a lot more and hit for more power, and that's leading to better results for their teams. This is the approach that the Cubs have taken. This is the way that they've built their team with this purpose. So if that's their game plan and what they're moving forward here, I find it hard to believe that every single one of those dudes on their team is going to fall off. And if at least one of their dudes on that team stays hot, they're matched up comparatively with the Milwaukee Brewers. So then you're sitting at like a 60-40 Brewers-Cubs if all of them fall off, and you're still feeling pretty good about the Cubs too.
Yeah, that's fun. I mean, you're a Cubs fan, so I get where you're going. But if the Cubs have 2 guys hold on and be good, that's great. But if the rest of the Cubs fall off, like I expect some of them to definitely fall off, and then we start matching up starting rotations, well, the Brewers are going to win that easily. And then if we get to the bullpens, Brewers are going to win that as well when it comes to the bullpen. The way the Brewers lose this division is if the Cubs offense maintains the way they're playing all year. And like I said, history says that it's not likely. To your point of anything can happen, Sparky, well, sure, anything can happen for sure, no question. If we talk about home run leaders right now in Major League Baseball, they right now have Suzuki and Armstrong tied for 7th in all of Major League Baseball. Then they have Kyle Tucker at 21 in Major League Baseball. So you're talking about 3 guys essentially in the top 20. Swanson is 33rd. I mean, technically it could be 30th, but you got a bunch of guys tied in front and with him. So you're talking about potentially having 4 guys in the top 30 in Major League Baseball in home runs. Michael Busch is tied for 39th. So if you say top 40 guys, they have a chance to have 4 guys in the top 40 leading in home runs in all of baseball, not the National League, in all of baseball. And again, that's another number that I would love to find out how many times that's happened. I mean, the only thing I can even remotely come to think of would be the Dodgers with Ohtani, Freeman, and Betts, and then maybe Muncy, right? Maybe Muncy's the 4th guy if you went and Google search this to try and figure out the last time that's happened. But that is a lot of juice coming there. And you're right. That is how they built this team. They built that team to win with power. The Brewers have decided to build their team to win with speed and small guys in contact. That's how they're trying to do it. The problem is that these contact guys are hitting like 260. That's not a lot of contact. If you're going to build a team full of contact guys, then those guys should be hitting 300 or somewhere in that area. If you're going to try and get on base and win with speed and steal bases and all of that stuff. I don't believe that this Cubs offense will do this for an entire season. I think there will be definitive drop-off at some point here from the Chicago Cubs. And when that happens, this Brewers team will take advantage of this division. I think it will be close. But if the Cubs offense keeps playing like this, they're going to be the best offense in the last, 50 years probably before this is all said and done. When you start talking about home runs and stolen bases and comparing and using all of these metrics, it's just not going to be comparable to anybody recently, Charlie.
I agree. And I think if they were to go and make some moves at the trade deadline, which is why I think the Brewers need to make moves before the Cubs do, go and be aggressive at this point in the season. As you get to the All-Star break and the trade deadline here, you need to be ahead of the Chicago Cubs team, not only on the field, but in the front office and get ahead of them that way. Because as their offense continues to be as strong as they are, they're going to be looking for the pitching. They're going to be looking for those bullpen guys, those starting pitchers that I'm talking about. This Milwaukee Brewers team has to match that and go with their offense and start to find those solutions to get the batting averages up. Maybe get a guy who can hit a few more home runs and be aggressive first.
Don't forget, before every Brewers game, 1 hour before every Brewers game, we have the leadoff show powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Tommy Wirtz gets you the latest from Pat Murphy before the game, gets you the starting lineups. They do their Building a Winner segment, goes back and looks at what happened on each level of the minor leagues for the Brewers system. Lots of exciting players coming up through the Brewers minor league system that you should be fired up about. Should also be fired up about Wendy's breakfast. Mornings and all start to feel the same. So if you're looking for a fresh wake-up call, look no further than Wendy's breakfast. Try a breakfast Baconator with fresh cracked eggs and crispy bacon, a grilled sausage breakfast burrito, or maybe even a honey buddy. Don't even think about sleeping on Wendy's seasoned potatoes and English muffin sandwiches. Doesn't matter what you go for, it's gonna change your life. Okay, well, it'll at least freshen up your morning. Be ready for a fresh wake-up call. It's gotta be Wendy's. Had some news breaking in the NBA earlier today involving a firing or a parting of ways, depending on who you're listening to, inside another NBA franchise. And as soon as it occurred, Bucks fans took to social media and started talking about, I'd rather have him with the Bucks than who we have. We'll talk about that coming up next. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook here at Summerfest at the Hole-in-One Challenge. Oh, that's nice. You're calling me a loser? That's what you're doing? You're playing I'm a loser, baby, because you know I'm on remote? That's you're not nice.
It's not my fault,
You're just
man.
you're not a nice person,
Didn't
Charlie. You are not a nice person.
Didn't you pick all the songs that went into this?
No, I didn't. No, I had no
guess
say
you
in
don't
this.
know
No,
most of these.
this was John McDonough was the one that picked all the music
McD
that
is
went into
calling
it.
you a loser. Is what that is.
Right. No, yeah, John picked it, and then our boss, Mitch Rose, and then approved everything because he wanted a certain type of rock music, whatever the case may be. I don't know who picked the I'm a Loser Baby song, but either way, Just coincidental that it happened after the Brewers Cubs segment that we just had. Coincidence. All right, who would you rather have running the Bucks right now? Because Masai Ujiri, how do you say his last name? I always get it wrong. The Raptors. Ujiri, yeah. Would you rather have him or would you rather have John Horst? Because Masai is out with the Toronto Raptors as of earlier today. A lot of people on social media saying they would rather have Masai running this organization than having John Horst running this organization. Now, obviously, that's not going to occur. They just gave John Horst a 3-year contract extension prior to this year. And remember, the Detroit Pistons were a team that were interested in having him come be the president of basketball operations for the Detroit Pistons. The Milwaukee Bucks denied them the ability to go out and bring in John Horst for an interview and possibly hire John Horst away from the Bucks, which then told you that they have a lot of faith, even if Giannis doesn't, in John Horst of keeping this thing together and building in the right direction. However, I don't feel like you, the Bucks fan, have the same faith in one John Horst and may have even less faith after last night's draft. So who would you rather have? Would you rather have Masai coming from Toronto or would you rather have Horst? Nikolai Law Fan Talk and Text Line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. You can also use Facebook and Twitter at The Fan Milwaukee. Sound off with a recorded voice message on the Odyssey app. Still to come, Andrew White, Forbes Sports Brewers writer, brought to you by Focus Baseball. He'll join us coming up here at 3:20 as we get ready for Brewers and Rockies. And again, 6 o'clock, leadoff show powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook with Tommy Wirtz. I will say that I think Masai gets a lot of credit in Toronto for what he's done. But mainly he gets credit for pulling off the Kawhi Leonard deal, getting Kawhi Leonard there for a year. That's all it was, 1 year. They beat the Bucks in the playoffs after the Bucks were in position to potentially sweep them possibly. I'll never get over that one. That really hurt. Those post-game shows, they win the first. I was like, hey, we may sweep them. I mean, there's no way. What's going to change? They may sweep Toronto. Nope, didn't happen. And then Toronto won a championship. So he was able to kind of ride off the coattails of that championship. Then he had Pascal Siakam there for quite some time, but could never figure out what to put around him to put him in that position. They got Barnes. He's a good basketball player as well. That hasn't worked out. He hasn't been able to figure out what to put around him. Then they went and they traded for Brandon Ingram. So now Brandon Ingram is there with Barnes to try and build around in Toronto as well. The weirdest part of this whole situation for me, looking at this, is why wouldn't you fire him before the draft? Why would you fire him after the draft selections and right before free agency begins? Does that make a lick of sense to you at all, Charlie Usen?
Unless the draft was his final test. If that was them saying, you get this right, we keep you around. You get this wrong, we get rid of you. And maybe he got it wrong.
Let me see if I got this right. So a bunch of jamokes that don't have a first clue about the NBA are going to draft his NBA, are going to grade his draft results before any of these kids ever even stepped onto the floor to play and fire him based on what the mock draft on the internet they found was, and it doesn't match up with what Masai did? That's what we're doing now?
I mean, the New York Jets fired and rehired their entire staff because of Madden ratings, essentially. So,
well, that is true. Hopefully there's not a kid running the Toronto Raptors.
Hope not.
But Colin Murray Boyles from South Carolina was the pick at 9. Now, again, maybe they wanted somebody else. I have no idea. And then I'm going down here. Second round, Elijah Martin out of Florida was a pick at 39 for Toronto. I mean, I don't know who ownership wanted one way or the other. I have no idea. But I do not understand how this happens right before free agency. So now you're going to go into free agency without anybody of significance making these picks? You're going to let who? The person who runs player personnel make your choices in free agency? Like, if you were even thinking about this should have been done weeks before the draft to allow the GM coming in to figure out what this team looks like, what they need in free agency, assess the talent that they have, and so forth. This was not the right way to do it. And I'd be equally mad at the Bucks if they were to got rid of John Horst after the draft before free agency started. One of the more moronic things I've seen in pro sports.
Yeah, it didn't make sense. And I think the other big question I have is that the Toronto Raptors right now are one of the most rumored teams across the league in the offseason reports, trading guys, moving guys, signing players, bringing different guys in. They're the names that you're hearing a lot. And if that's the case and you expect to be a big player in the open market, which is usually what that means if you're in all these rumors, is there's some truth to them. then you should want to have some kind of consistency in that front office to at least set you up for success in the future. If you were planning on firing Ujiri eventually here, then wait till the end of the season. Wait till halfway through the season until you see what he's done and put forward in front of you. Like you said, it doesn't really make sense for a bunch of people up in front of him to fire him based off of their rankings and where they saw some of these players. Right now, this just seems like the worst possible time to let him go.
I'm looking at their depth chart. Emmanuel Quickly, Brandon Ingram, R.J. Barrett, Scotty Barnes, and Jacob Pertl. Behind that, they got Jamal Sheed, Grady Dick, and then they just added Murray Boyles, obviously, at that point. Their backup center position isn't anything to write home about, but I would imagine most of the NBA is in the same position. I don't know, man. Like, I don't get what they're doing or why they're doing it necessarily. From a Bucks perspective, would I like to have Masai here? Yeah, I think I would probably consider it. But if you go back and look at his last couple of major trades and so forth, I'm not as sold on him as I was maybe, say, 2 or 3 years ago, Charlie.
No, and I think even when you look back at the Kawhi Leonard trade, if they don't win an NBA championship with Kawhi Leonard, that is a failure, and he probably gets fired 2 years after that, a year after that. I mean, this is all hinging on Kawhi Leonard coming in and having one of the greatest single-season performances, single postseason performances of really any player of all time. And he won you an NBA championship, and he got 5 extra years based off of it.
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly right. But again, if we're being honest, shouldn't you get some years, kind of a honeymoon period after you win a championship, regardless of sport?
I think so, and I think that was why it was so surprising when Michael Malone was fired by the Nuggets, the head coach, because he didn't really get that honeymoon period that a lot of these other coaches or GMs in the front office would get.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Hey, if you are at your desk or you're at home or whatever the case may be, if you want to stream us on YouTube, you can now. We are on YouTube as well. Just search at The Fan Milwaukee. Use that @ symbol, at The Fan Milwaukee. You can stream all of our local shows, whether it's the Pack-A-Day Radio Show with Andy Herman, weekday mornings from 8 to 9. The Mason Crosby Show, the former Packers kicker, on each day on our station from 9 to 11 with Mitch Thunder Nellis. Rich Eisen Show from 11 to 2 from the NFL Network. And then, of course, I'm on the air each and every day with Charlie Usen from 2 to 5 with the Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. U.S. Cellular. Those are my people. Those have been my people for 10, 12, 15 years. It's been a long time. Everybody in the family's involved on it. Kay's mom's on it. Everybody is involved, been involved for quite some time. I've been with some of the other cell phone providers. I've had bad experiences. I ended up at U.S. Cellular, and I haven't had to fight with anybody in the entire time I've been there. Not only do I not fight with anybody at U.S. Cellular, but they text me random offers and deals and come on in and spin this wheel and win this and do that. It's amazing. They want you to feel as like part of the family. And that is why they got these cool things called Us Days. And it's going on right now until July 16th. An exclusive event to celebrate loyal customers with unique offers. This includes big discounts on new phones and tablets, plus other giveaways and events like parking lot parties. Some of these parking lot parties have food trucks, DJs, whole deal. It's a whole big event with their Us Days parties going on. Parking lot parties will be happening at U.S. Cellular stores across the country. You can find your nearest local event at uscellularparty.com, uscellularparty.com. Again, going up to July 16th, I'm sure there's all kinds of parties in our area here in southeastern Wisconsin to check out, so make sure to do that today. Take a quick time out, come back here in the 3 o'clock hour. Andrew Wagner will join us coming up at 3:20.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Fifer, served up by Wendy's on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan. Download the Wendy's app today.
It is that time again as we broadcast live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, out here at Summerfest at the Hole-in-One Challenge, along with Lexus and The Fan. Steve Sparky Fifer with you, hanging out here until 5 o'clock. The leadoff show, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, 1 hour before every Brewers game here on The Fan with Tommy Wirtz. He'll get you ready for Brewers baseball coming up at 6 o'clock as they get ready to take on the Rockies. So looking forward to hearing what Tommy Wirtz has coming up on tonight's show. Andrew Wagner, Forbes Sports Brewers writer, presented by Focus Baseball. Check out FocusBaseball.com for their July tryout dates for your kids going up through the high school level. Starting at age 6, they start at. That's crazy, isn't it? 6 years old and start playing some baseball. So, again, Focus Baseball. Check them out. Andrew Wagner joins us coming up at 3:20. Charlie Sounds of the Day comes up at 3:40. His top 3 clips from around the world of sports. All right, I want to talk about last night's draft, if you don't mind. Because I was annoyed, and I don't know about Charlie or anybody else, but last night I was annoyed because yet again the Bucks get up there on the clock, and what happens? We start talking about Giannis leaving, Giannis going somewhere else, and so forth. And there was a exchange on TV that was pretty funny, and this guy Ritz Holtzman on Twitter kind of documented it and put it out and thought it was pretty funny, and I agree. I noticed the same thing. So Shams Charania says, Giannis is closely monitoring the Bucks draft choices tonight to assess if he has a better chance to win there or elsewhere. So first of all, in response to that, get out of here. What are you talking about? You're telling me that Giannis is sitting there going, well, if they screw up the second-round pick, I'm asking for a trade tonight. You think that's what he's saying? Really? You think that's where we're at? We're closely monitoring a second-round pick? I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't even watching the draft at this point, knowing they only had pick 47. If somebody told you Giannis didn't even watch the draft, would you be surprised, Charlie Usen, that Giannis wasn't watching the draft?
No, I wouldn't be. He was in Greece on a beach, last picture I saw of him, so I would assume he's still hanging out in Greece having a good time.
Get out of here with all this. Oh, he's monitoring closely a second-round draft pick, man. Again, made-for-TV crap. So, Sharania says that. Then the Bucks select Bogo Markovic from Serbia. Stretch, power forward, hit the outside shot, good passer, more offensive player than he is defensive player, 18 years old, needs to add a whole bunch of muscle before he's ready to play in the NBA. So they're probably going to let him play back overseas another year is what they're saying. Now, on the record, the Milwaukee Bucks say depends on how he does in the summer league of whether or not he's going to play over here. With all due respect, I don't know if I necessarily buy that, but we'll see. So the Bucks make that pick. And then the camera pans to the dude wearing braces from when he was younger, whatever the case may be. And then Jonathan Giovanni, who is their draft guy, like their Kuiper for basketball on ESPN, says Bucks will be stashing him for a year in Serbia. After Shams led this whole thing by saying Giannis is closely monitoring the Bucks draft choice tonight to assess if he's a better chance to win there or elsewhere. See, that's the type of nonsense that will get people to turn off their TVs if they're fans of the team you're talking about. That's the type of nonsense that will get you essentially muted or blocked on social media when you do dumb stuff and say dumb stuff like that. Now, whether ESPN was telling him to say that or whether he was saying that on his own, it's absolutely ridiculous as soon as it came out of mouth. What should have happened was, and in fact, the old Golden State GM president, what's his name? I'm blanking on his name.
Bob Myers?
Yeah, Bob Myers. He's on set. Bob Myers laughed. He goes, my God. He's like, if that really is happening, I just go to Giannis. All right, who do you want? Who do you want? I'll pick whoever you want. Who do you want in the second round? If it's that big of a deal to you, who we take in the second round, Giannis, we'll take whoever you'd like in the second round. Because in the first round, I'm probably not letting him do that. But second round, go ahead. Pick whoever you want. No, I don't even care. And then started live. He's like, hopefully it's not that big of a deal to Giannis. So Bob Myers poked fun at the dumb thing that Shams Charania said. The question is quite simple. I think I know the answer, and I think I'll know the answer on social media as well. And don't forget, you can stream us on YouTube right now at The Fan Milwaukee on YouTube if you want to stream us and follow along all of our local shows, whether it's the Pack a Day Radio Show with Andy Herman, the Mason Crosby Show, weekday mornings from 9 to 11, the former Packers kicker, along with Mitch Thunder Nellis from 9 to 11, brought to you by Verizon, number one in the Milwaukee market, or this show in the afternoon, or Wisconsin Sports Weekend on Saturday mornings from 9 to 11 with Charlie Usen and Jack Pembroke. Tune in for that again coming up tomorrow morning. There is no way, as a Bucks fan, you are interested anymore in anything Shams Charania says. I don't think. Not at this point. The question is, have you stopped following ESPN's Giannis reports at this point? If you stop paying attention, stop following, stop respecting, or anything of the sorts, every time they come up with another Giannis topic or another Giannis story or another Giannis report, have you gotten to the point where you've just tuned them out and just turned the channel? Or just don't even turn them on anymore on ESPN because how about over-the-top ridiculous this whole thing has become at this point. Nicolay Law Fan Talking Text Line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Facebook and Twitter at The Fan Milwaukee. Sound off with a recorded voice message on the Odyssey app. I always say, if you record a voice message on the Odyssey app, a couple things. One, do not swear because I'm not playing it on the radio if you swear, obviously. Number two, make sure we can hear you. And number three, make sure we can understand you so you're not slurring your words because you're hammered at Summerfest or something. That's a big part there. And you just heard a huge gale of wind as I was just talking. So if you were recording in that time frame, I don't think I would have been able to understand you. So make sure we can understand what you're saying as well. So if you buy some loud music stage here at Summerfest or the wind's blowing, whatever the case is. I'm done with Charania. I'm completely 1,000% out on Shams Charania and all this nonsense for Giannis. They were back to doing Giannis topics again, somebody told me today on ESPN. And my response was, guys, they have nothing else. They have NBA free agency this week. They're going to drag this Giannis thing out until NFL training camp at the end of July, and then they'll be done with the NBA, and they'll focus on the NFL, and we'll be done hearing about Giannis, at least till the basketball season. But this is going to go on at least through the first week or two of NBA free agency before they transition to the NFL. And you're probably going, well, why? Because none of them watch baseball, know baseball, or pay attention to baseball at ESPN or FS1 or any of the other TV networks that do sports talk shows in the morning or the afternoons. None of those guys watch baseball. How many former baseball players are on ESPN or FS1 doing a daily talk show, Charlie?
None that I can think of off the top of my head, if I'm being honest.
Nope, not one. Not one. They're all former NBA players or former NFL players for a reason, because none of them watched baseball. So none of them can talk baseball knowledge knowingly. So now you got to come up with this nonsense to talk about Giannis because you don't have anything else to talk about. That's what irritates the hell out of me. Nicolay Law Fan Talking Text Line. Have you stopped following ESPN's Giannis coverage at this point? Because last night in the draft, just turn off the TV and go to bed. 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. KJ, West Dallas, you're up next on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. What's up, KJ?
Hey, Aloha Friday. Thanks for taking my call.
You betcha, KJ. You coming to Summerfest?
Man, it's too hot for me. It's too hot. I hope you're staying cool out there, Sparky.
Yeah, I'm right on the water by the Hole-in-One Challenge. I got a nice breeze blowing. I'm under a tent, out of the sun. Yeah, man, we're good. Thanks for asking, though.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, we're good.
That's good.
We're good. Yeah.
Listen, man, I am so done with Charania. He talks, ad nauseum about trying to get Giannis out of Milwaukee. I mean, it's almost like he's lobbying for these big market teams. You know what I mean? It makes no sense. It's all fake news whenever he brings that stuff up because he doesn't have anything, no factual content to back up what he's saying when it comes to Giannis. Or even the Milwaukee Bucks, to speak of. So, I'm done with him. I'm done with Stephen A. He's another one.
That's another one. Yeah, you can add him. All those ESPN guys, all of those guys, all the same thing.
Yep.
No doubt. KJ, thanks for the call, man. I appreciate it. That is absolutely true. Now, again, in defense of them, because I don't know, I can't sit here and speak definitively. I know how things work at ESPN. I've never worked a day in my life at ESPN on the television side. So I have no idea how things work. Maybe this is being pushed from producers. Maybe this is being pushed by executives to keep hammering the Giannis thing. That is drawing TV ratings. In segments you talk about it, the viewership goes up in segments you talk about Giannis. So maybe it's being pushed by them to draw ratings. I have no idea how things work. I don't know if Stephen A. gets to determine what he wants to talk about every day or if producers tell him what they're going to talk about every day. I don't know. But I do know this. I'm done watching it. I'm done listening to it. I'm done with all of this nonsense that goes along with it. And last night, as they were doing this again, Sharani was on his millionth take of, he's not on the woods yet. He might leave. Do you know what I thought of? I thought of the idea that if he's actually being fed information from somebody and not told just to keep dragging this out by ESPN. So if there's somebody actually talking to him, telling him, nope, don't leave this. You're on the money. I don't care how many people criticize you. You're right. There's only one person that could be feeding him this. And with knowledge, that would be Giannis' agent. That would be pushing this narrative to Sharania. Or Giannis, but I don't think it's Giannis. So it would have to be his agent that would be driving this narrative to keep hammering this in the public regardless of all the criticism and critique that he's getting. Because if this was done, if you're John Horst, wouldn't you just come out last night after the second pick, even though you bailed and didn't talk to the media? But why don't you just come out and go, first things first, before we get to this, I see all this talk on ESPN about Giannis and so forth. Listen, we've talked. We're good. He's not being traded because we're not trading him. He hasn't asked for a trade. He's vacationing right now. He's not worried about the draft as we currently speak. He's probably having some dinner somewhere right now. I don't know the time differences in Greece between here and there. So I don't know. Maybe he's sleeping. Either way, he's not even probably paying attention to this whole thing. Everything's under control. We're going to be active in free agency and build another winning team here, and everything is fine so we can all stop talking about Giannis going forward. I appreciate it. Thanks. All right, let's talk about our pick. Like, he could have done that. Couldn't he have done that?
I think so. Probably. I think it would have been just as easy as that. If we head back over to the Nicolay Law Fan Talk and Text line, we have our guy Luis Olmos of the Potawatomi Sportsbook hanging out over there, wanting to get in on this topic with you. Luis, you're on.
Yeah, he knows where he's on. New daddy joins us on the Fan. Congratulations, Luis.
Appreciate it, Sparky. I always have time for you guys. I needed a diaper break, so let me tune into Sparky, and right away I was hot last night watching the draft because they start to analyze Phoenix, who has no controllable assets, right, until 2031, 2032. They're upside down on an aging guard in Bradley Beal, who they're probably going to waive. That's $80-90 million. And have nothing else. And their take on Phoenix was, well, when you got a guy like Devin Booker, all you can do is go all in and offer him an extension. Well, hold on. Is it rules for thee and not for me? So Phoenix, who's probably just as bad a situation as we are, they need to go all in with their superstar Booker. But the Bucks, no, you guys are screwed. You need to unload Giannis, get 10 draft picks, and start over. Like, what is the difference here? What are we doing here, Shams? And don't forget, Shams is a Chicago guy. Shams got his start with the Bulls, so
that's true.
He probably wants the superstar out of Milwaukee. Of course, he wants to get rid of Giannis in Milwaukee, being a big Chicago guy that he is.
I haven't thought about the Chicago angle, Luis. That Chicago angle on Shams Charania is definitely an interesting angle. But you're right. I mean, even with the Joker stuff that Kroenke put out there, the guy that they own and run the team, and then he walks it back, and then they're like, oh, they'll never trade him. They would never trade the Joker. He's never going to be traded. No need to read into that. Well, so you go and you defend that when the man literally said that you never know what's going to happen. That one you say will never happen. The Bucks, on the other hand, you will not say that. You will not go away from that. That's why I'm telling you, I got to imagine that his source has to be Giannis's agent that keeps telling him to push this. I mean, who else would it be if he has a legitimate source?
And there's only one guy that can shut this all down, right? It's a simple Giannis TikTok that he's been doing a ton of them, a Giannis IG post, for him to just, do the Leo, I'm not going anywhere. And I just don't know if he's waiting to see what the team does in free agency in that first week, which there's not much you can do. You hopefully you bring back Porter, you bring back Bobby, you bring back Gary, and try to run it back with the same guys. The East isn't strong, but I think it's just a matter of he can shut it down whenever he wants, and that's what's given me maybe that 15% of worriness and troublesome, that it's like, guys, you can shut this down whenever you want, man. You're the one that announced. I remember way back when he was ready to leave, and he's the one that put out he signed an extension. Woj didn't get that. Shams, no. Yep. Giannis, right on his Instagram, put like, I'm back. So that's what's given me a little pause. I think he's still staying. I think he's maybe just putting a little pressure on Horst in the front office to, hey, you still have that 2030, 2031 pick. If you got to trade it, trade it. Generational players.
You've got 2031 and 2032.
Generational players, especially in Milwaukee, don't come around every 5 years. Like, you have to luck into it. Same with the Brewers. You got a guy like Mizorowski, Churio, go for it. Bucks, you got Giannis, go for it. Trade those picks. We'll kick the can down the road the old Ted Thompson way. So, I'm about 15% worried he's leaving, but I think ultimately he stays, at least to see this contract out. And also another thing to keep in mind is all those contracts are going to come up in Giannis's option year. So what's there not to say, hey, can you go and get another superstar when Giannis's option is up? Maybe he opts out, signs a team-friendly extension, and they go get another one or two superstars, when that happens, because Dame's contract will be up at that point.
Correct. You have to get through the next 2 years. And then after that, everything is off the books, and you can start over at that point. Luis, thank you so much, my friend, and congratulations again.
Appreciate it, boys.
You betcha. Take care. There he is, Luis Olmos over there at Potawatomi. I want to point this out. And we've been talking about this nonstop. Isn't there a part of you that would be really peeved if you're John Horst at this point, that Giannis has to play games with you every offseason like he's never worked with you before, like he doesn't trust you, like he doesn't think you can get the job done without playing these stupid games in the media? Wouldn't you be mad? Because I'll be honest, I'd be livid if I was John Horst.
I don't think I'd be that mad. I mean, he's shown Giannis, that he has faith in this organization. If he wanted to ask out, he could have asked out a few times now with a couple questionable draft choices that John Horst has made or anything like that. If I'm John Horst and I feel that way, then you're insecure about what you're able to do as a general manager, because I think he's a very good general manager. I think he's done his job in order to keep Giannis in town and put the right pieces around Giannis, or at least try different pieces when other pieces weren't working. There's a lot of GMs who would just give up after trying once and then would just leave it at that and wait for themselves to get fired. John Horst hasn't done that. And if you feel like you are confident in what you do as a profession and you feel like you're confident in your relationship with Giannis, no, I wouldn't be frustrated with him doing this all the time.
I wouldn't be confident in my relationship with Giannis if I got to play games every time.
Every
really offseason, you got to play games with me? You don't trust me. Don't tell me you trust me and we got to play this game every summer. You clearly don't trust me because you think if you don't play this game, I'm not going to do my job. That's how I look at it. That's exactly how I treat it. It's a sign of clear disrespect from him to John Horst. Now, again, maybe he doesn't trust John Horst. Maybe he doesn't think John Horst is good as what he does. Maybe he thinks if he takes off his foot off the gas pedal and just ends this like he could have and should have done for the last several months, that John Horst will be like, to hell with it. I'm not going to do anything in free agency. I'm just going to kick back and put my feet up and not worry about trying to win this year. We're good. I'm sorry. That's disrespectful. That is 1,000% disrespectful to the guy that has won a championship with you, running this franchise. And again, as I said, I'm not a John Horst guy by any stretch of the imagination. But if I was in his situation, having to deal with this nonsense with him, yeah, I'd be peeved. No question about it. All right, coming up next, Andrew Wagner, Forbes Sports Brewers writer, brought to you by Focus Baseball. He'll join us coming up next here on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Definitely want to go check out the Potawatomi Sportsbook, baby. 6,500 square feet, 2 levels. If you have a group, small group, something like that, you want to rent off that second level, you can talk to them. Maybe you have that second floor all to yourself. It's a beautiful thing. 2,000 square foot center screen. Watch 30 things all at one time. UFC fights, There's no better place to be for UFC fights, and there's another big one coming up this weekend. Reserve your seat ahead of time, whether it's a tabletop, whether it's a big old booth, seats like 6 to 8 people, whether it's a single chair. All you got to do is go to potawatomi.com/sportsbook. potawatomi.com/sportsbook. I know there's a nominal fee, but that goes towards your food and beverage, which you are going to definitely use that money because the food and beverage is amazing. 48 beers on tap, dozen different specialty cocktails, all-day brunch at the Potawatomi Sportsbook Kitchen. You've got burgers, sandwiches, wraps, wings, 7 different types of wing sauces. Homemade desserts and pastries made on premise each and every day at the Potawatomi Casino and Hotel. Reserve ahead of time. Potawatomi.com/sportsbook. Again, Potawatomi.com/sportsbook. Coming up on the other side, one more time, we're going to talk with Andrew Wagner of Forbes Sports, Brewers writer, brought to you by Focus Baseball. Get his thoughts on the Brewers and Rockies game coming up tonight. And then at 3:40, we'll check in with Charlie on Charlie's Sounds of the Day. Time for your fan weather forecast, brought to you by Utke Heating and Cooling. 85 degrees out here at Summerfest, partly cloudy skies. Tonight, a low of 61. Welcome in, Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's as we broadcast live from Summerfest at the Hole-in-One Challenge, brought to you by Lexus and by The Fan. Thanks for tuning in today here on a Friday. Lots of room for you here at Summerfest. If you're thinking, man, it's Friday, it's going to be packed down there. Not so much. No, not really. Lots and lots of room for you if you want to come down here and enjoy some great acts. I know it's warm out, but being out here by the lake, there is a nice cool breeze blowing that keeps you from like really sweating or getting too hot. So come on down, say hi, hang out, have some beverages, great food everywhere on the Summerfest grounds. A huge playground for the kids. They want to come play on the playground. Definitely want to do that for sure. Love Taki Fuego chips? Listen up because you've never had them like this. Wendy's new Taki Fuego meals are here. Sammy has a Taki Fuego chip intensity you love piled up on one of their fan favorite spicy chicken sandwiches with Taki Fuego chips, chili lime sauce, and creamy corn spread. The small Fuego fries get tossed in an intense chili lime seasoning. It's almost like this meal couldn't take any more Taki Fuego chip intensity. That's where the extra 1 ounce bag of Taki Fuego chips on the side comes in. Well, while supplies last. You can grab this Taki Fuego meal at midnight or later, limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's.
What's the latest on the crew? Let's go inside the clubhouse with Drew Wagner of Forbes Sports on Wisconsin Sports Daily. Served up by Wendy's on 1250 AM and 1057 FM The Fan. Inside the Clubhouse is brought to you by Focus Baseball. Sign your kids up now for July open tryouts at focusbaseball.com. Ages 6 to 17.
All right, joining us now is the aforementioned Andrew Wagner. He joins us on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. Mr. Wagner, I know you are getting ready for Brewers and Rockies. How are you doing this beautiful Friday afternoon?
I'm doing delightfully, Sparky. It's a beautiful day in southeast Wisconsin. The sun is shining. And you know how much I love joy and happiness.
You can tell it in your voice that you get very excited about joy and happiness. Charlie Usen, our producer, said that you had some really good story time for us here for this segment. So what exactly is he talking about?
Yeah, we're going to skip over that. I'm just going to say when you go to the DMV to apply for a new title and transfer your plates, double check that they got everything right, because it could lead to some trouble down the road.
Oh, no. Man, what is the deal with you? You always get some jinx, weird, bad luck stuff, don't you?
I do. But hey, it's baseball night in Milwaukee. Let us celebrate.
It is. Yeah, let's celebrate. Kyle Freeland against Jose Quintana for this Brewers team right now. If I asked you, and I know, so don't tell me, it's June, Sparky, I don't know. But if I was asking you right now, who would be your top three in a playoff rotation for this Brewers team as we sit currently?
Right now, I mean, Freddie.
Peralta, yep.
Probably Priester. And then, I mean, you're probably looking at, if you're saying right this second, you
yes.
probably have to look at Miz. Those are probably your top three. More likely, if it were to happen, I think Quintana would be in one of those three, just because of his experience, being a veteran, that kind of thing. But, like, ideally at this exact moment, like, if you're going just based on numbers, I mean, I think Priester and Peralta and Miz are your top three in any particular order.
This is going to sound crazy, but we don't know if Brandon Woodruff is going to be Brandon Woodruff when he comes back here in the next week or so, right? But if Brandon Woodruff is as good as Brandon Woodruff has shown in the past, then obviously it's Peralta, Woodruff, and then you talk about three. Then three clearly is Mizorowski, providing that they haven't reached an innings limit or something like that, if they trust him to go in there and pitch more innings in the playoffs. But let's say Mizorowski has reached the innings limit and he's not in there. I just don't know, man, if I trust Quintana. I know he's got a sub-3 ERA and all of that, but there's still a part of me that when he pitches, I'm just kind of waiting for him to get hammered. I still don't think I have all the trust in the world in that guy to be a top three guy in the rotation. And in fact, I'll take it a step farther. Like, I know they're going to be active at the deadline, and they're probably going to, have to trade some pitching in order to get a hitter if that's what they decide to do. I don't think I'd be opposed to trading Quintana if it gets you a decent bat.
Yeah, listen, I wouldn't be opposed either, and I know this is going to be the most unpopular thing. I wouldn't be opposed either to trading Freddie. I really wouldn't. I think you can get a much better return for Freddie with that $8 million option out there next year. I think he's an incredibly good pitcher. I think he's an addition to the staff, but you have so many young guys that, let's face it, if Freddie was the guy that was going out there every fifth day and giving you 7-8 innings on a regular basis, it's a completely different conversation. But because of that effectiveness and because of that tendency to jump your pitch count up really high and barely get into the six most starts, I think it's something that you at least have to explore. And
I don't
that
think
we
I
can
agree.
even talk about it, it tells you how incredibly overloaded the Brewers are with young starting pitching. Because remember, one name that we haven't even brought up yet, because it's been so long now, Robert Gasser's going to come back before this year is over too. And we saw what that kid did when he came up and made his debut last year before that unfortunate injury. He's going to be in the mix before the season is over. He's going to play a role. He's going to be a factor. They are lousy with talented starting pitching right now, where it makes it possible to look at this as a luxury, as, you know what, we can at least explore these opportunities.
This is the thing. I'm not trading Freddie Peralta under any circumstance if we're in this. Not because I disagree with you, because I don't disagree with you. I think they are loaded for bear with pitching. I mean, Logan Henderson is a guy that I would feel completely confident in putting in this rotation and being fine with going forward, providing he's not having to worry about an innings limit as well. But from the perspective of, I'm not going through Josh Hader again, Wags. I'm not. I don't want to go through that.
I get that.
I don't, because if you trade
part of it.
If you trade him, do you rip the heart out of that clubhouse and then they can't recover? Not to mention the fan base, but you would rip the heart out of that clubhouse if Peralta got traded, unless it was for, some for sure stud third baseman that nobody saw getting traded at the deadline. If it was something like that, then maybe it's a little bit different, or some type of hitter like, I don't know, maybe if it's Bo Bichette on a rental and you trade Peralta with a year and a half left, or you get a star hitter, then maybe they get it. But if it's like Hader, no way. And I don't think they would ever allow themselves to do that again.
I don't think it would be to that extent. And you're right. It would definitely be a tough one to sell. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, if you're looking at it from a strictly immediate and long-term perspective, it makes sense.
Right.
It's a tough sell, and fans won't like it. You might get some dissension in the clubhouse, but at the same time, they understand. The weird thing is about all this trade deadline talk is, the obvious positions to upgrade, that plan kind of got screwed of late, because now Caleb Durbin and Joey Ortiz are starting to hit the cover off the ball. And it kind of made you reevaluate how you're looking at that position. Is there someone out there who is significantly better and guaranteed to put up better numbers than you're getting out of Durbin right now? That's kind of a tough one.
I want power, and does not maybe analyze anything. I want power at shortstop or third base. If I'm not going to have it at shortstop, then find me power at third base and see what happens. Caleb Durbin is going to be either a really good second baseman that can play for years, or he's going to be a really good utility infielder that's going to play for years. But he will play in the NMLB for a long time. I just don't think his long-term future is as a starting third baseman in Major League Baseball at this point. What about the idea of the All-Star game and what exactly the Brewers are going to end up with, and who is going to end up in the All-Star game for the Brewers? I brought this up to Tim Dillard yesterday. He joins us, the FanDuel Sports Wisconsin Brewers analyst, joins us each and every Thursday at 3:20. I said to Tim, Skeens made the All-Star team last year on 11 starts and got to start on 11 starts. Mizorowski's going to get 2 more starts, probably against the Mets and then once against the Dodgers, which means you could get Yamamoto against Mizorowski, you could get Ohtani against Mizorowski, whatever, but it could line up to be star-studded. If he pitches well in both those starts, you're at 5 starts. Do you think they put him in? Because he's going to draw fans to the TV. People are going to watch him around the country.
It depends on who gets in ahead of him. Because listen, he's not going to be one of the first guys that gets named to it. That's obvious. It depends on who gets named and who gets dropped out, and what the pecking order is after that. I mean, yeah, it's nice to say, but is a guy with 5 starts going to find himself an all-star consideration? Maybe if he goes out and puts together,
Let me ask you this. Every team has to have one representative. I don't think right now you can say anybody other than Freddie Peralta deserves necessarily to be in that all-star game currently on this Brewers roster, or has a good chance of being in the all-star game. Who?
Sal Frelick?
No. If you look at the outfielders, no, he's not going to. He ain't no chance. So if it's just Freddie Peralta, then the decision is, okay, would I rather have Freddie Peralta for an inning, or would I rather have Mizorowski for an inning? That's the debate you have when you're selecting your Brewer. And if it's me as a coach in the All-Star game, I think I'd rather go with the kid, with all due respect to Freddie Peralta. Now, Peralta's not going to be happy. Veterans around baseball probably won't be happy. That kid with 5 starts hops over a guy that's been doing it all season long and doing it well. But if we're being honest, Mizorowski probably makes more sense in a one-inning scenario, and from a Major League Baseball standpoint, it makes a lot more sense. With all due respect to Peralta, people aren't tuning in to watch him. People will most definitely tune in to see Jacob Mizorowski in the All-Star game.
Yeah, I think a lot of things have to happen for Miz to get into that conversation. I don't think I don't think Dave Roberts is going to pick Mizorowski over, someone
That's nice,
more,
though.
more.
Isn't
yeah.
that the last start he's going to have is going to be against Dave Roberts.
Well, maybe. I mean, anything could happen. I just think I think a lot of other things have to happen before Miz gets into that spot. And listen, we keep talking about, his innings and his pitch limits too. I mean, do you want him to pitch that one inning in the All-Star game where it's meaningless, or do you want him to pitch that one inning here where it's going to mean something? It'd be nice. It'd be nice for it to happen. It'd be great exposure. It'd be great attention. But, every inning counts right now. And you got to take that into account too.
I've got another one that we brought up yesterday on the show that you and I haven't talked about yet. That new rule in the CBA, I believe, you tell me if I'm wrong, if he finishes in the top 3 in Rookie of the Year, they lose a year of service time. So if he finishes top 3, and right now he's 1, if you go around and look at odds and everything else, he's 1. So then the debate becomes, well, are we better off setting him down when Woodruff comes up? Are we better off just putting him in the bullpen to throw one-inning deals until middle of September, bring him back up, and essentially kind of take him out of the Rookie of the Year race on purpose? And we'll just say we're saving his innings?
I don't think that's a conversation they're having. I mean, it fits the narrative of the whole cheap organization, blah, blah, blah. But I really don't think that's part of the conversation they're having. Listen, I would not be surprised if he is the guy that gets sent down when Woodruff comes back. And it will have nothing to do with how he's pitching or unfair stuff. It'll be more of a matter of, okay, we need to manage this guy's workload. We need to manage this guy's innings. It's a lot easier to piggyback a guy at AAA and shorten his starts than it is at the big league level without taking up another bullpen spot. I don't think they want to move him into a bullpen role. I think they want to keep him in a starting role as much as humanly possible this year and keep him on the schedule because you can also manage that a lot better. I just don't see them moving him out of a starting role until they absolutely have to.
Oh, they sent him down to AAA. That'll take him out of the Rookie of the Year race as well. Mr. Wagner, thank you so much for coming on. Always a pleasure. Enjoy your weekend. Brewers and the Rockies catch Andrew Wagner, brought to you by Focus Baseball, coming up before every Brewers game with the leadoff show powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook with Tommy Wirtz. Tonight, that show from 6 until 7. Thank you, Mr. Wagner.
See ya.
There he is, Andrew Wagner, joining us on the Fan Guest Hotline. Powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Coming up next, Charlie's Sounds of the Day. Top 3 sound clips of the day as we're out here at Summerfest, right by the Hole-in-One Challenge, with Lexus and the Fan taking advantage and being a partner with them on the Hole-in-One Challenge. Come on out, say hi out here till 5 o'clock this afternoon. Coming up next here, it's Charlie's Sounds of the Day on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome back. It is Steve Sparky Fifer with you out here at Summerfest, Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. The Hole-in-One Challenge brought to you by Lexus and, of course, the Fan as well. Right over here by the Generac Power Stage 2, right along Lake Michigan on the Summerfest grounds out here till 5 o'clock. Come on out, say hi. Would love to see you and talk with you. We have some of these, what are they called? Like stress tension balls, I guess you could say, is what we have out here. And it's got the 105.7 logo on it, the whole deal. Those have been very popular throughout the day, people coming out here and grabbing those. So feel free to come on out here until we run out for today and take one of those if you would like. U.S. Cellular, that is what I've had for 10, 12, 15 years. I don't know. It's been a long time that I've had U.S. Cellular. What led me to U.S. Cellular? Pretty simple. These other mobile service companies that I had prior to that, I always would end up in a fight with or an argument over, whatever the case may be. I've been with these guys for I don't know how long. I've bought several phones, have had several different cell phone plans. I've never had an argument. I've never had a disagreement. They've always taken care of me. They're always texting and offering all this different stuff that I can have and take advantage of or rewarding me with stuff. It is a no-brainer. Again, you don't have to take me and what I have to say for it, but I'm telling you, I've never had a bad experience with them. U.S. Cellular, and they want us all to be a big family, right? Everybody be a part of this together. Well, going on right now is Us Days, their exclusive event to celebrate loyal customers with unique offers. This includes big discounts on new phones and tablets, plus other giveaways and events like parking lot parties. Some of these parking lot parties across the country, food trucks, they got DJs playing music, all of this stuff going on, again, at your favorite U.S. Cellular store. So take advantage of these Us Days going on right now. You can find your nearest local event all over southeastern Wisconsin at uscellularparty.com. Again, uscellularparty.com. All these parties going on up until July 16th. And during Us Days, U.S. Cellular is featuring real customers and associates who announce the perks of being part of U.S. Cellular. In fact, they even have a real-life Luana and real-life associate Heather starring in their TV commercials. Take advantage of it today. Everybody loves U.S. Cellular, including me, and be a part of these parties. Again, it's uscellularparty.com, or for you, uscellularparty.com. Go check it out today. Time now for Charlie's Sounds of the Day.
What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's on the Fan.
All right, Charlie Usen, where are we going with our top 3 clips of the day?
All right, so first up, we're going to head over to Foul Territory on the FanDuel Sports Network, where Ken Rosenthal was on the show. He was discussing why sellers do not start selling earlier.
Scott, you're speaking too logically. And what you're saying makes absolute sense, that why not act now if you're a seller before the market becomes flooded with more players? Absolutely, that is the case. But the way deadlines work in all walks of life is that people wait until the end. And that is just the general nature of it. It changes the prices as you get closer to the end, and the desperation of certain clubs increases. So I'd still expect it to happen that way, but I'll give an example here of what I'm talking about in the other way. Charlie Morton. Charlie Morton is suddenly pitching a lot better for the Baltimore Orioles. It's been about 5 or 6 starts now. He is probably going to get moved at the deadline. The Atlanta Braves are sitting here and they need a starting pitcher in the worst way. Why wouldn't the Braves and Orioles do this now? There's no reason. There's no logical reason why they wouldn't. Because if you're the Orioles, you'll have other players to trade at the deadline. You might want to stack this rather than having to do everything at once. And if you're the Braves, you have this immediate need. But all of that said, things generally don't work that way in the game. Sometimes they do, but generally speaking, everything goes down to the end.
I agree with Ken Rosenthal. I don't understand why trades aren't made earlier, why people insist on waiting until the end of July before making a move one way or the other. It does make too much sense just to make a move early. If you know you have a need, see the Brewers, why not go address that need and fill that need as soon as possible to have that asset in your control for the remainder of the season and give you a better chance to win the division or the better chance to win the wild card. Why wait all the way to the end of July and only have them for 2 months in the playoffs? The only logical reason for that is well, then I got to give up more prospects, Sparky. I don't want to give up more prospects. If I rent the guy for 3 months versus renting the guy for 2 months, that may save me a prospect I don't have to trade, and that's why I don't want to make that move earlier. Yeah, but is this about keeping prospects, or is this about winning a division, or is this about winning a wild card? Like, what really is the more important thing for a general manager and owner in Major League Baseball? You would think the more important thing is, if you're competing for a playoff spot, is getting that playoff spot, Charlie.
You would think, but I think a lot of these teams have higher goals than that. I think the Orioles specifically, or Atlanta honestly too, both of them went into the season with World Series expectations, not just making the playoffs, but hoping to be some of the best teams in the league. So you would think that would push them even harder to make these trades now in order to turn that around as fast as possible, because they have the talent on both these rosters to do so. So yes, maybe it has to do with the fact that they don't think they're competitive enough right now and they want to go stack the prospects. But if you can get veteran players, then you might as well go and get them. The only other thing I can think is that maybe they don't like a guy like Charlie Morton as much as people want them to believe. Maybe they think there's going to be other starting pitchers on the market and you wait for that. But even then you have to start calling and start making those calls. Why would you wait for them to call you?
Well, that's just it. And I know you don't like hearing this, but so many of these organizations run based on what market they're in, based on what they have to do to be competitive long term and what that is. And so many of these markets don't play for the now. They play for the big picture, and not the small picture. When you're in a bigger market, you can play for the here and now every single year and not worry about it because you have the cash to overcome any mistakes you may have. Smaller markets don't have that same margin for error, so they have to play more conservative and not be as aggressive as maybe some of these bigger markets can be. And I think in large part, that's what kind of holds back a lot of these organizations from, going for it or being more aggressive at the end of the day. Clip number 2 time.
All right, next up we're going to head over to the NBA draft from yesterday, the second round, where NBA Commissioner Adam Silver was on ESPN to talk about some of the issues or things changing across the league. One thing that everybody wanted to listen to him talk about is the Achilles injuries happening across the league. This is what Adam Silver had to say about those.
I want to talk about the NBA Finals, Commissioner, because it was such a fun ride, that 7-game experience with the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers, and a really unfortunate sort of undertone of it in Game 7 was Tyrese Halliburton going down with the Achilles injury. And it's a rash of these injuries that we've seen now in these playoffs with Jason Tatum and Damian Lillard as well. Is the league looking at that at all, or is there anything to do to address it?
We are looking at it, and in fact, we had already convened a panel of experts before Tyrese's most recent Achilles rupture. So we had 7 this year. We had 0 last year under the exact same circumstances. And the most we've ever had in a season is 4. NFL has had a rash of Achilles issues as well. So the purpose of convening those experts is to try to figure out what's going on. It's interesting, when we look back at the last 10 years, the majority of the Achilles injuries have happened before the All-Star break. So it's not clear it's the number of games. And as you know, modern NBA players, even when they're not playing games, sometimes in the summer, they're working harder than they are during the season when they're playing 3 games a week. They're often playing every day. Some experts think it may have more to do with youth basketball. It may have as much to do with what they do from 10 to 19. Increasingly, they're single-sport athletes. These guys train also harder than when I talk to veteran players now. I was talking to Andre Iguodala the other day, the head of the Players Association. He's saying he's counseling a lot of these players that they need more rest on their body in the off season. I mean, you've got guys working out 3 times a day. So I'm hopeful that by looking at more data, by looking at patterns, this is one area where AI, people are talking about how that's going to transform so many areas. The ability with AI to ingest all video that of every game a player has played in, to see if you can detect there's some pattern that we didn't realize that leads to an Achilles injury, whether it's associated with calf injuries. We really don't know, but we're taking it very seriously.
This is the thing. I think they're chasing a ghost for the most part. I don't know if you can look at this and go, yep, we know how to stop Achilles injuries. Like, really? That we're going to figure out how to stop Achilles injuries. That would be revolutionary if the NBA figured out how to stop Achilles injuries. He brings up the idea that the National Football League is dealing with the same type of injuries, the Achilles injuries, which, again, Iguodala says, well, we need more rest. Okay, but how much of this is training? How much of this is being too tight, maybe? And how much of this is overtraining at the end of the day? I'm not a rehab person, or I didn't go to school for physical therapy or anything like that. I just wonder how much of this can be avoided by just stretching differently, doing different things before game action, of whether or not you can prevent some of these Achilles injuries going forward with these NBA players, with these NFL players. I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith that they're going to find an exact answer of how to stop this. I think when you dive into this, it may be that there's certain exercise or certain supplements or certain something that is maybe helping to lead to more of these from happening one way or the other, but I don't think you're ever going to just stop it from happening.
No, and especially if it's as deep as they're talking about in this video, where it goes all the way to the youth level. This then goes all the way back to people wanting to dunk like Michael Jordan from the free throw line and starting to train at that point, and how the training regimen started and changed all the way back in 1975, 85. Around that time, that's how far you have to go back, and you can't change that much history. You can't go through all the AAU teams and say, hey, you need to stop all this, because you don't run the AAU leagues. You don't do any of that. You have to change something huge in order to make that big of a difference, and the NBA just cannot do that because it would hurt their game.
Don't forget, you can stream this show as well as all of our local shows here on The Fan by simply going to YouTube, searching at The Fan Milwaukee. Use that at symbol, at The Fan Milwaukee on YouTube. Stream all of our shows. Go back, watch any of our past shows, watch any of our past interviews that we've done as well on YouTube. Or you can always go back and just get the audio part of it by downloading and listening on your Odyssey app, AUDACY, or go to the website, thefanmilwaukee.com. It's a beautiful thing. It's sorted by best Brewers coverage, best Packers, best Bucks, best college sports, all of it all sorted into different buckets. So essentially you can pick and choose exactly what you want to listen to any way you want to listen to it, whether it be watching it on video or listening to the audio part of it. Clip number 3 for Charlie's Sounds of the Day.
All right, and last up here, we're going to head over to the San Francisco Giants taking on the Miami Marlins from yesterday, where center fielder for the Miami Marlins, Dane Myers, reacted to a strikeout by breaking his bat over his knee and throwing a tantrum. Mike Krakow and Dave Fleming, the announcers for NBC Bay Area, the San Francisco Giants, had this to say about the situation.
Got him with the slider. But 3 runs. Unhappy hitter Dane Myers. Marlins back ahead. Bush. Myers threw a temper tantrum after striking out to end the top of this inning.
Now let's take a look at the temper tantrum. Near. It just doesn't feel good when you do this.
No.
I'll tell you what, that's impressive.
2 down for Adames.
Look, he's a young player. If he knew how much the opposing pitcher got out of that and how enjoyable it is, he would never do it again.
He should know. He was a former pitcher.
Yeah, you're right. He should. If I struck a guy out and he did that, I'd want to walk him back to the bench going,
I love it. That's absolutely phenomenal. He's absolutely right? I mean, you're going to throw a temper tantrum and break a bat over your leg and start whining and complaining or doing whatever he was doing in that situation. Absolutely, the opposing pitcher knows he owns you. He's in your head forever at that point, and knows he has the advantage. If you come back around the next time in the lineup and he's still in that game, he has you because you're all screwed up mentally. And that is one of the biggest things, I think, just in general, that people have to figure out how to deal with when you're in sports, whether it be youth sports or high school sports or college sports, is being able to control your emotions, keep your head in the game, and try to stay on a level state of mind versus being so overly emotional and screwing everything up potentially for the rest of your game or the rest of your at-bat or the rest of that inning or the rest of that quarter or whatever the case may be, whatever sport you're playing. You really can screw yourself up if you can't control your emotions. And that is a shining example of that, Charlie.
Yeah, you really can take yourself out of the game, out of the whole entire couple weeks there, and it really makes you, or the people around you, lose respect for you a little bit. You're manager is going to see that and be like, don't know if I really want that out there, especially for a team like the Miami Marlins, where they have so many players fighting for all these different spots because they're such a young team with all these different options. You do something like that, that's automatically a denotion on your resume right there for that. I think back when Carlos Gomez was with the Brewers, there was that one time where he tried to do this, tried to break the bat over his knee. He just kept banging it over his knee like 5 different times. That's embarrassing, man. You don't why would you want to put that out on the field? And I love Carlos Gomez. He's one of my favorite players, one of my favorite athletes of all time. But I saw that as a kid, and even I thought that was embarrassing. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to try to break a bat over my knee after that because he looked like a weirdo, a loser a little bit when he's trying to do that. I think Dane Myers, yes, he successfully broke the bat, but you still kind of look like a weirdo doing it.
It's got to hurt. It's got to hurt. I mean,
it's
not like Bo Jackson breaking a bat over his head. I mean, Bo Jackson literally broke a bat over his helmet. I've never seen that since then. I've never seen anybody even try to break a bat over their helmet outside of Bo Jackson. I've seen people try to break a bat over their leg, and Gomez is a good one. That hurts. Like, if you go to break a bat on your leg and it does not break, that really hurts. And then to try to break a bat on your leg 2, 3, 4 times on top of that? Like, that's psychotic. At some point, you're like, dude, what is wrong with you? Stop.
Well, and didn't
you're really going to hurt yourself.
He started, banging it on the ground afterwards, too, after it didn't break
yes.
his knee. It was just, got worse and worse from there.
It's just absolutely horrible. All right, coming up next, 4 o'clock hour, Green and Gold Update brought to you by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. A list put out. They went and they got, it was 14, 15 different NFL writers to put together a list over there at SB Nation for the top 30 quarterbacks in the Super Bowl era. Yes, Brett Favre is on the list. Yes, Aaron Rodgers is on the list. No, Jordan Love is not there just yet. But we'll talk about where they're ranked and whether or not it's too high, too low. We'll have that conversation coming up straight ahead here on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook here at Summerfest at the Hole-in-One Challenge.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Fifer, served up by Wendy's on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan. Download the Wendy's app today.
It is that time again as we broadcast live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook here at Summerfest, the Hole-in-One Challenge. We're out here Thursdays and Fridays during Summerfest up until 5 o'clock, 2 to 5 here on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Don't forget, during the week, Pack-A-Day Radio Show with Andy Herman, 8 to 9. The Mason Crosby Show, former Packers kicker, does a radio show every day, Monday through Friday, along with Mitch Thunder Nellis from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. That, of course, is brought to you by Verizon, number one in the Milwaukee market. So lots of stuff to tune into, not to mention the leadoff show powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook with Tommy Wirtz, getting ready for Brewers baseball before every single game, 1 hour before every game here on The Fan. You get the leadoff show with Tommy Wirtz. Tonight coming up 6 to 7 o'clock. Definitely want to stay tuned for that one as we get ready for the Brewers and the Rockies. And again, outside looking in, Charlie, you feel good about this series for the Brewers.
Definitely, but also you have to calm down a little bit because the Rockies are not a very good team, and the Brewers seem to, in the past, at least early in the season, play down to their opponent. So I would hope
they're not a very good team. Aren't they the worst record in baseball?
They're pretty bad. They've been getting a little bit better as the season's gone on. They're not like the White Sox of last year where it was just putrid all year. They've been heating up a little bit in some areas of their team. So they're not awful. They can definitely steal a game from you if you're not on your game. And we saw the Brewers take down the Pirates, which were another bad team, and they played way better than the Pirates played. So I hope you can continue that with the Rockies.
I'm looking at ESPN matchup predictor. It has the Brewers with a 77.6% chance of winning this game based on their ESPN analytics. I feel pretty good about those analytics.
That seems low, though.
And what they say at the end of the day. What?
Right? Don't you feel like it's like at least an 80% chance to win this game? Like, I feel you got to add 3% there.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess that would make sense. Ryan McMahon is a guy that a lot of fans, well, not a lot of fans, but there are some people that believe the Brewers should go get Ryan McMahon to help out with the third base conundrum that they have right now with Caleb Durbin. And again, Caleb Durbin has been playing much better. This month of June, McMahon is hitting .244 with a .311 on base, .500 slugging, and he has 6 home runs this month, if I'm looking at this correctly. Is that 6? Yeah, I think that's 6. 6 home runs this month for Ryan McMahon. In the month of May, he had .283 with a .389 on base, .500 slugging with 4 home runs. Do you want to hear the good news if you're a team trading for the Ryan McMahon? The bad news if you're a Rockies fan with Ryan McMahon today?
What's that?
Ryan McMahon, outside of Colorado, is hitting .180 with a .263 OBP away from Coors Field.
Yeah, that's not great. I think that's part of the reason nobody has traded for him in the past couple trade deadlines.
I mean, goodness gracious, 180, that is awful. When you start talking about McMahon, he's, let's see here. They just got done playing the Dodgers. In that series, he was 2 for 10 in that series. Both those hits coming in the first game of the series. They just got swept by the Dodgers in Colorado. So they're coming in riding a 3-game losing streak to this one. All right, time for our Green and Gold update, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
It's time for your Green and Gold update on Wisconsin Sports Daily, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan with Steve Sparky Fifer.
All right, let's get to it here concerning the Green Bay Packers. We do it every day at 4 o'clock. We go over whatever may be the latest in news concerning the Green Bay Packers. Found a story earlier today that came to me via my Go Long TD subscription that I have, Ty Dunn's podcast and writing that him and Bob McGinn do. I absolutely love all the stuff that they do. But the email that came to me earlier today was our top 30 NFL quarterbacks of the Super Bowl era. By the way, congratulations to Tyler Dunn, who just had a baby boy here in the last week as well. We gave congratulations to Luis for his baby girl. Congratulations to our guy Tyler Dunn for a baby boy. So, top 30 NFL quarterbacks of the Super Bowl era. What they did was they went and they gathered 13 people to vote in this greatest quarterback of all time conversation, again, in the Super Bowl era. So nothing before Super Bowl I counts. So we're not going to go all the way back to quarterbacks that, pretty much nobody has seen play at this point. Of the guys that are the ones that are voting in this, all of them are guys that we have heard. I mean, I recognize every name. I've read every one of these guys that are the 13 voters. Each voter ranked their list of the 30 best quarterbacks of the Super Bowl era, which began in 1966. The rank on each list was added up. Then the total score was divided by the number of lists on which they appeared. Then each quarterback would be penalized by adding 1 point for every list they didn't appear on. If a quarterback appeared on 9 of the 13 lists, his total score would be added up, divided by 9, then 4 points would be added to create his final panel score. The quarterbacks in the 30 with the 30 lowest scores are the ones who made the list. Make sense?
I think so.
Top 30 quarterbacks. Number 30, Matthew Stafford, who one person had as high as ranked as 17th all time in the NFL. Matthew Stafford feel like a top 30 quarterback of all time?
He's won a Super Bowl now, so I think that helped him a lot. Yeah, I think so. I think that was kind of the last thing he needed was to win that Super Bowl, and he's been really good with a really bad franchise and good with a good franchise. I think you got to give him that credit.
We're looking for Rodgers and Brett Favre. Both are on this list. 29 is Bob Greasy. 28, Len Dawson. I'm just going to roll through these because Charlie doesn't know any of these guys or never seen them play.
I know Bob
Johnny
Greasy and Len Dawson.
Johnny Unitas, 27. Ken Stabler, 26. Ken the Snake Anderson, 25. Joe Namath, 24. 23, Lamar Jackson at 23 quarterbacks of all time. You feel good about that one?
Yeah, I think so. I think he deserves a lot of credit. Now, if he won a Super Bowl, it would definitely boost him up. But a few MVPs definitely helps supplement some of what you're missing from no Super Bowl appearance.
Does he deserve to be behind Phillip Rivers at 22?
No. If Phillip Rivers doesn't have an MVP, he doesn't have a Super Bowl. His stats are there, and again, kind of with the Stafford, he played really well with a franchise that didn't always give him 100% around him. At the same time, though, I think you need some kind of accolades in order to be higher on this list to help yourself beyond stats.
One person had Phillip Rivers ranked at 11. To give you an idea, he is 8th all-time in completions, 6th all-time in passing yards, 6th all-time in passing touchdowns. He is 11th all-time in fourth quarter comebacks as well, 8-time Pro Bowler. Number 21, Josh Allen. He was as high as 13 on somebody's list. So 21, Josh Allen on that list.
All right. Again, he's got the MVP now. It would help if he won a Super Bowl. I'm surprised they're valuing younger quarterbacks as much as they are. I feel like there would be older names that they would give a little love to. Maybe it says something about the type of people that are covering the sport now.
Maybe. So now we have to sit and wait and see for the remainder of the list. The nice thing is about getting the subscription from Go Long TD like I do from Ty Dunn, he put together his top 30 and where he ranked guys in his own personal top 30, so we're going to talk about that. He has Aaron Rodgers at number 10, top 10 quarterback of all time in the NFL Super Bowl era. He has him in front of, I'm just going to go down from 11 down. He is in front of Staubach. He's in front of Fouts, in front of Tarkenton, in front of Terry Bradshaw. He has Josh Allen at 15. He's in front of Roethlisberger at 16, Kurt Warner 17, Jim Kelly 18, Unitas 19. Bart Starr is 20 on this list.
All right.
For our guy Tyler Dunn. Do you think Aaron Rodgers belongs in front of all of them?
Yeah, I think so. When I look at just his pure talent, I don't think, again, he doesn't have multiple Super Bowls, which is what I think should get you farther into that top 10. But he has the one Super Bowl. He has 4 MVPs, which you just cannot deny, especially the his two last MVPs, which came after a down season. A lot of people thought he was done. That was when people thought the Packers and him were going to break up. He goes and wins 2 MVPs for the team. I mean, that's beyond phenomenal. If he doesn't win those, yes, he's a little bit lower on this list, but he goes and does that. I think he deserves to be a top 10 quarterback. I would put him a little bit higher than Ty Dunn did, probably.
Really? Higher than 10?
I think so, and I think that's more just, again, me growing up with Aaron Rodgers. That's who I watched. comparing him to like Tom Brady all the time, it always felt like he was a lot better because of that, because you have that comparison with the greatest of all time, who I assume is going to be number one on this list. I mean, I think that gives him a little bit of a boosted ego in my mind.
It depends if the list includes cheaters.
I think it's going to include Tom Brady, Sparky. I think it's going to.
He wouldn't be one for me ever. But 20 on this list is Bart Starr. I struggle putting Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre in front and place of Bart Starr. Now, I understand this is Super Bowl era only, so technically he's only credited with a couple of championships, but he's got a hell of a lot more than a couple of championships at the end of the day. Before Mahomes, Starr owned the highest postseason passer rating of 104.8. 104.8. Starr's best game ever in 66 when he tore up Tom Landry's Cowboys, 304 yards and 4 touchdowns in the NFL championship game. And again, remember, this isn't this era where it's all in favor of the offense. In that era, it was more of a running game, less of a passing game necessarily, and Bart Starr put up those type of numbers. He won the MVP in 66 as well. So he's as the MVP, he's got multiple rings. I would still have as Bart Starr in front of Favre and in front of Aaron Rodgers if I was making the list. Now, as far as Favre goes, let's continue going up the list. Rodgers is at 10 on this list of greatest quarterbacks in Super Bowl era by Ty Dunn. Steve Young is 9. Drew Brees is 8. That's way too high. John Elway is 7. Peyton Manning is 6. Again, here we are with Peyton Manning. As you all know, I'm a Colts and Packers fan. I watched Peyton Manning choke so many times in the playoffs. He won one and lost one in Indianapolis. And then he had to go to Denver when he was a shell of himself. And everybody around him helped him win that second one, which I really don't give him credit for, but some do. Peyton Manning 6. Then is Brett Favre at 5. The top 4, according to Ty Dunn. Tom Brady 1, Mahomes 2, Montana 3, Marino 4, Brett Favre is 5, followed by, again, Manning, Elway, Brees, Young, and Rodgers. Do you like or dislike that list? Nicolay Law, Fan Talk and Text Line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Also can record and sound off with a recorded message on the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Use social media at The Fan Milwaukee, or comment if you're following along on YouTube at The Fan Milwaukee. As we broadcast all of our local shows now streaming on YouTube. You can chat right there on the YouTube screen with us, and we'll read some of those chats off the YouTube screen. Charlie, what say you about Favre and him being top 5 on this Ty Dunn list?
I'm not mad about it. I don't know if that's 100% where I would put him. I think when I watched Brett Favre, his natural talent is just so undeniable. You cannot watch him and not say just wow every time you're looking at him play football. But I also feel like you're seeing Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. A lot of guys just do that more often now, and I think that's part of the reason they put Bart Starr farther down on this list. And why you would have him higher, I think, is mostly because what he did during his time is amazing. You have to talk about it during the time. But since the game has changed, I think it was a lot easier to be a top quarterback when Bart Starr played in 66 versus being a top quarterback in the NFL now. I would say the same thing with Brett Favre. I think we're starting to see a lot of guys do what he could do more often, and I think that would push him down a little bit. I still think he's a top 10 quarterback. When I look at this list, I think a guy like Aaron Rodgers, I wouldn't say they'd flip spots, but I'd put Aaron Rodgers closer to that number 5 spot than I'd put Brett Favre, personally.
So again, we get back to talking about how important are Super Bowls and Super Bowl appearances, right? Because Brett got to 2 Super Bowls. Aaron Rodgers got to 1. Favre won 1, lost 1, never got back after that. Rodgers got to 1, never got back after that. Rodgers had little to no success with the New York Jets, his second team. Same with Favre. Favre then, however, went on to the third team, the Vikings, and helped propel them almost to a Super Bowl until he threw that interception like he always did to screw himself, like Peyton Manning did, and took him right out of there. I think I would grade Rodgers over Brett Favre if I was grading this list as well. I think I'd flip him. I think I'd put Rodgers at 5, and I think I'd put Brett at 10. Mainly for the reason that Brett Favre just cost his team way too many games over the course of time. Just way too many times he cost them postseason playoff games because of his knuckleheadedness of throwing a bunch of interceptions. Now, you can say that Rodgers cost his team by simply not playing as well as the other quarterback in playoff games. Fine. But you are not going to sit there and go point at a game where Aaron Rodgers threw 3 picks and that's why you lost. That game against Tampa Bay and Tom Brady several years ago, where Brady throws 3 interceptions and Rodgers couldn't get the offense going in the second half, part of that was the offensive line and so forth, but Rodgers wasn't turning it over several times in the second half to cost the Packers that football game at the end of the day. You can argue that Aaron Rodgers should have had more big game-defining drives in the closing minutes of a football game. And to that, I would agree with you 100%. It was a knock on Rodgers early in his career, and I think it kind of followed him all the way through to the end of his career, where he just didn't have those big moments like Patrick Mahomes has had, John Elway has had, Peyton Manning has had, Montana has had, right? Rodgers just didn't have enough of those to really kind of separate himself at the end of the day, and I think it holds him back when you start talking about making these gigantic lists.
No, he doesn't have as many of those moments, but I think the moments that he has had in those types of situations are some of the most memorable in all of NFL history. I think Joe Montana and John Elway, they have so many of these drives and so many of those types of moments that some of them get lost in history. These Hail Marys that Aaron Rodgers were throwing in the prime of his career to end games, to end the Lions, to make them stay alive in the Arizona playoff game. I mean, all of those are huge and will forever be stuck in my mind. When I think
the
about
Arizona game, he then turned it over at
he
the end and
did
lost the
then
game.
turn it over, and then Larry Fitzgerald had one of the craziest 2-play drives I've ever seen of my entire life. So that kind of evened it out, but Aaron Rodgers still made it a very important play in that moment, and in a loss, you're remembering a clutch play from him. Yes, it didn't happen as often, but you have those stuck in your mind.
I don't know, man. I might be the only person that doesn't give a damn about his Hail Mary passes. Like, I will always say to the day I die, those are some of the luckier plays of all time. And we could sit here and go, whoa, it's an art. If you practice hard enough and long enough, anybody can complete a Hail Mary pass. No chance. There's no chance. So for me, that's just luck. Like, I'm never going to use that as a deciding factor of where to put him on a list or to defend him as far as big moments of his career hitting, lottery ticket type shots. Yes, it's crazy that he hit 3 of them or however many he hit in his career. That is crazy. That I agree with. But I certainly wouldn't use it as a deciding factor of, okay, he deserves to be higher than this number. I think Favre is, to a certain degree, overrated a lot of these times when we start talking about where guys get put on lists. And part of the reason that is because he was so fun to watch. Not to take anything away from Aaron Rodgers, but literally when Brett Favre was on the football field, you literally sat on the edge of your couch not knowing if he was going to win you the game or lose you the game at the end of the day. I remember towards the end of Brett Favre's career, I think I told this story on the air. At the end of Brett Favre's career, Gary Ellerson, the former Packer running back, who used to be my co-host with Leroy Butler on the Wendy's Big Show, Gary Ellerson and I were doing post-game shows after Packer games. And that's when we were in our old ancient studio, which is really, really small. So we were in there. And Favre turned over the ball at the end. Gary picked up a chair and threw it down the hallway towards the engineering office. And I don't remember if it broke or not. It was absolutely livid. And then Favre was walking off the field and was like getting all emotional and so forth. So the post-game show ended up being, instead of him screwing up the game, ended up instead talking about, was that Brett Favre's last game at Lambeau Field? Is this it for Brett Favre? We only did that like 10 more times after that. But it was that whole conversation about Brett Favre. But that is the type of stuff that you would have. And then if he hits a shot, you're like hugging everybody around you. Oh, Brett saved us. Oh, what a great play, man. He won. And then at the same moment, in the next game, you could be throwing stuff down the hallway, Charlie, just furious and wanting Brett Favre the heck out of there because he cost you another football game.
But I think that's why I would put him farther back on my list. With a guy like Aaron Rodgers, when you were in those moments, those late game situations, I think most of the time, yes, he wasn't finishing it up, but like you said, it was offensive line or other parts of the team that were messing up. If Aaron Rodgers and if the Packers were on their game and Aaron Rodgers was your quarterback, you're winning that football game. Yes, you may not win it if he's still playing well, but that's not always on him. With Brett Favre, if he's not playing well and that team can't keep up with that, then you're screwed. Those games you are always going to lose, and they're always going to end in heartbreak like that. Aaron Rodgers, it's so hard to blame him, and that's why I have to put him higher on the list.
I think that's fair. And again, like I said, I would put Rodgers up closer to 5, Favre closer down by 10. I still struggle with putting guys that have one ring ahead of guys like Bradshaw that have 4, ahead of guys, that have 2 or 3 Super Bowl rings. I just struggle with that. And as far as the top of the list goes, I'm never putting that cheater at 1 as long as I live. There's no chance. He was on multiple teams that got nailed with cheating. Spygate got nailed with cheating in that one, and then you had Deflategate, got nailed with cheating with that one. No chance he's ever at 1. I've always said Montana is 1. Never lost a Super Bowl, has always been that guy. To me, it has to be Patrick Mahomes now. For how he's been winning Super Bowls with what he's been given to work with on offense is crazy. He doesn't have Rice. He doesn't have Taylor. He doesn't have Roger Craig. He doesn't have any of that, right? It was impressive when Joe was doing it because he didn't have the strongest arm. He wasn't the most athletic guy, right? Completely kind of average Joe type deal, but figured out how to win. Mahomes is athletic, can do the no-look passes and do all this crazy hijinks like Favre could do back in the day, but also it doesn't kill you nearly as much in being this loose cannon like Brett did. From time to time, he'll make a dumb throw, but a lot of times he's able to bail his team out and still come back and win that game. For me, Mahomes would be 1 on my list going forward.
I haven't seen very many times in my lifetime a team rely solely on a player like the Chiefs have on Patrick Mahomes. And honestly, on the defensive side of the ball, the way they rely on Chris Jones is almost just as similar. I think these 2 players on that team have proven time and time again that they are all they need for them to make a Super Bowl, and you have to give him the credit for that. Even Tom Brady needed other players around him sometimes in order to take that next step. Yes, I think he elevated a lot of guys around him a lot better than I think even Patrick Mahomes elevates some of the guys around him. But at the same time, that natural ability that Patrick Mahomes has too, you have to take into account. And when he's making plays that you've never seen before with guys that were 5th-round pick wide receivers or 6th-round pick tight ends, you can't do anything but just stop and stare in awe.
He is Charlie Hughes and Steve Sparky Fifer with you as we sit out here at Summerfest at the Hole-in-One Challenge, brought to you, of course, by our friends at Lexus, and, of course, with the fan. Come on out here, give it a try. The Island Hole. You hit over the cool waters of Lake Michigan, and several prizes up for grab in that one. Come on out, give it a shot. Coming up next here in the 4 o'clock hour, we move away from the Green Bay Packers. Our Green and Gold update there brought to you by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. We talk more about Bogo Markovic getting drafted by the Bucs last night. Now the question is, how does he fit into the future of this team, providing Giannis is here going forward, like I believe, and most of you all believe, obviously. How does he fit into this team? As far as how do they play him and how does this all work? We'll talk about that coming up next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Speaking of the Potawatomi Sportsbook, 6,500 square feet, a 2,000 square foot center screen. We got UFC fight nights on all the time. Big one coming up this weekend. You want to be at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. 30 different sporting events at one time. So whether it's be UFC, whether it be the baseball games, maybe it's Brewers and Rockies you want to go watch this weekend, whether it's basketball, football, racing, golf, tennis, you name it, they've got it. And they've got unbelievable food at the Potawatomi Sportsbook Kitchen, 48 beers on tap, dozen different specialty cocktails, desserts and pastries made on site, all-day brunch, burgers, wings, wraps, salads, you name it, they've got it at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Plus, what all those gambling kiosks you can go ahead and make a quick wager or two, maybe on your way home, right? If you want to make a quick wager on maybe the game tonight or a game coming up this weekend or a golf tournament or whatever, pop right in there, 4th level of the Potawatomi Casino parking garage. Go inside right there by Rock and Brew, great personal pizzas. Make your wager there. And then if you have time, go on down to the Sportsbook and hang out and watch, or go to one of the fine dining restaurants around the area. Always reserve your seats ahead of time, especially we're talking about for this UFC Fight Night stuff. Go online, reserve your seat, Potawatomi.com/sportsbook, Potawatomi.com/sportsbook. There is a nominal fee, but it goes towards your food and beverage costs that you're going to use later that night. I promise you, you're going to use it all, so take advantage of that. Still to come, things that we missed on today's show. A lot of Marquette, well, not maybe a lot of Marquette, but Badger players, Marquette players, some Badger recruiting news, all coming up at 4:40. But we'll talk more about the BOGO pick by the Milwaukee Bucks last night. Straight ahead here on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live here at Summerfest. Welcome back. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. We broadcast live here at Summerfest at the Hole-in-One Challenge. Come on down, say hi right here along the beautiful waters of Lake Michigan. Island hole, hit it over the water in Lake Michigan onto this hole. Try and get yourself a hole-in-one. Bunch of different prizes still available at the Hole-in-One Challenge here at Summerfest. We'll get to things we missed on today's show. That comes up here in just a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about this pick of Bogo Markovic. If you missed this earlier, let's play back again, Charlie. The conversation that occurred with the Milwaukee Bucks, with John Horst, with Dave Babcock and John Horst, with Bogo Markovic after they made the selection and leading up to the selection. The Bucks had this on Twitter last night. Check this out.
Nice to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
How are you?
All the way from last year's workout. Now you're coming back again.
Yeah, time flies so fast. You guys were my first workout. I was so nervous back there.
Yeah. Well, we were really excited to have you, man. Really excited to have you.
Me too. I'm so excited to get back in that gym.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, these guys, obviously, they've seen you a lot more throughout the year, and I got to spend a lot of time with you when you were here for the workout. But, man, they said you got so much better. Your body's improved, and we've been tracking you since you were here last year, man. So these guys were literally standing on the table for you the last couple of days. So we're excited to get you, man.
Yeah, so here. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So excited to be there.
The hat looked good on you, man.
Yeah, I think so, too.
Now, again, this is a situation where he was playing overseas, playing in Europe, playing in, I would say, like the second or third level league in Europe, not the top league, but was the top rookie, if you want to say, in that league last year. Played really well. Talking about it, 6'10", 6'11", stretch 4, right? So Bogo can hit the three, can get out and run a little bit, can pass the basketball really well. More of an offensive player right now than he is a defensive player. Not going to find any gaudy block numbers, not going to find any gaudy steals numbers in Europe from Bogo. Now, how he fits in with the Milwaukee Bucks as a second-round pick is something completely different. According to the Bucks, they say they're not going to send him back over there to play another year, I guess, if he plays well in the NBA Summer League, and they start practices for that already next week. I don't believe him, if we're being honest. I don't believe him at all. I think there's a 99.9% chance that this dude is going to go back overseas for a couple of different reasons. Number one, he has to get stronger. He has to get bigger, which was the same issue that Giannis had when they brought Giannis over here, obviously. But the team sucked when they brought Giannis over here, right? So they did not care that he was rail thin and was going to get beat up and bodied around. They were fine with building him up year by year and getting him bigger the way they wanted to get him bigger, because there was no pressure to win at that point when they drafted Giannis. It's the same thing for most of these guys. Brandon Jennings could have went and played, I believe it was the University of Arizona. Chose not to. He wanted to make money, so he went overseas. It was not a pleasant experience, but he went overseas for a year. Didn't do well, didn't play nearly as much as he wanted to play. Then the Bucks drafted him. Again, another situation, if we're being honest, should they maybe have played him right away? Maybe, maybe not. But in the situation they were in, there was no pressure to play him or not play him, because there was no expectations on that roster. There is expectations on this roster when we talk about any team with Giannis on it at this point. So they're expected to win. So what does that mean? That means Doc Rivers is going to play his veterans over second-round picks that need a lot of muscle added to their base. If you send them back over there, stash him, as they say, for a year, play him in EuroLeague again, not EuroLeague, but whatever the name of that league is. What's the name of that league? Eredic League or something like that. You put him back over there to play, and you essentially tell the coaches where he's going that, look, man, these are a couple of things we'd like to see him work on while he's over here again. And then you hope, because the coaches don't have to listen to you. They can do whatever they want. But hopefully the coach is like, all right, yeah, sounds good. We'll work with him. And getting him better on the defensive side of the floor, getting him stronger, putting him on a nutrition program that helps to add weight, putting him on some type of strength and conditioning program, which, again, hopefully the team that he's playing on will help him follow going forward. And the goal has to be that you want to add so much muscle and weight to his body frame in the year that he's not playing here. And then when he comes here in 2 years, or if he comes here in 3 years, now he's able to walk in and play right away and take that next step. That's what you're hoping for, I think, if you're the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't think short-term there's any idea or plan to have him on this team. Now, the question is, how does he fit into the future of the Milwaukee Bucks? That is the question on the table for you. How does Bogo fit in, the second-round pick out of Serbia? Nikolay Law Fan Talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. You can also, of course, Facebook and Twitter at The Fan Milwaukee. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Charlie, how does he fit into the future for you?
I really can't tell. He doesn't really have a skill set in my mind that lends to him being a star. And if he is not going to be a star, then I don't really see what the point is in sending him back over to Europe, back to Serbia to figure out how to play there. I see him as a Denny Avdija type who was drafted in the first round a few years ago. I believe it was the 2020 draft, and probably drafted a lot higher than he needed to be. But he was another taller wing that is a offensive focus, pass first type of guy. And he had the struggles on defense, and his athleticism was brought into question a little bit when he was with the Wizards. But as he spent time in the NBA, he learned to find his role in the league and found a role with a team that actually needed him in that spot. With this player, with Markovic, I don't feel like right now he is going to be at that spot where you need him to be on this roster. And if he's not going to be at that spot right now to be on this roster right now, in about 4 years, I expect this team to be in a completely different situation. In 4 years, there's a lot higher of a chance that Giannis isn't on this team. If he's not on this team and you drafted Markovic to be a part of this team, maybe not this year, but next year, then you're probably going to move on from him then too if he's not going to be, if he was a part of the Giannis-built team, which then doesn't make sense to me. Why would you draft this player? So I'm kind of confused on why they have this plan with him, because I don't really see a clear-cut spot for him on this roster in 4 years, whether Giannis is on it or not.
All right, there he is, Charlie Houston, C. Sparky, Fifer with you. Let me tell you all about the things going on at Wendy's. If you love Wendy's classic chocolate and vanilla frosty flavors, there's some big news. There are all new Frosty Swirls and now Frosty Fusions. It's the same creamy treat you've always loved, now with a flavor refresh. So, there are new flavors. Of course there's new flavors. We've got the Frosty Swirl, strawberry, brownie batter, and caramel. Remember, add extra swirl when you place that order. It's the best way to eat those Frosty Swirls. Now, Frosty Fusions. You have Oreo brownie, caramel crunch, pieces of toffee, Pop-Tart strawberry. So, clock in for sweet treat time with Wendy's. All new Frosty flavors, a refresh on a classic. It's gotta be Wendy's. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM 105.7 FM, The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook at Summerfest at the Hole-in-One Challenge, courtesy of Lexus and The Fan. Back after this. Welcome back. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Steve Sparky, Fifer with you out here at Summerfest. It is the Hole-in-One Challenge, brought to you by Lexus and, of course, the Fan. Been out here for, well, since last Thursday, I guess it would be. All kinds of different prizes that you can win at the Hole-in-One. Joining me now is Will Lowry, social media sensation. How would you like to be deemed? Future social media Hall of Famer Will Lowry?
No.
How far do I go with this?
I mean, you can go a failed professional golfer to a golf media personality. That's where we can go.
So how did you get into the golf media personality? Because, like, my kid is still learning how to play golf as a senior in high school, and he knew exactly who you were as soon as I brought it up. So what got you to start this, and what's the end game, I guess, in all of this for you?
Well, again, after me failing at professional golf, I was on a reality television show back in probably 2012, 2013 called Big Break on the Golf Channel.
Yep.
So that kind of got me started in, I guess, a test case of how the social media game works. This is before all the iPhones and everything got big. But shout out to Pete Bavacqua, CEO of NBC Sports, pretty much said, how can we grow the game of golf? And then when he said that, I submitted a couple TV shows, and voila, we're on NBC Golf Channel. And before you know, I became opinion leader in golf, and I had to figure out the social media thing. And the end goal is just pretty much grow the game of golf. How can we, carefully craft concepts that can grab people who come from a different clubhouse and enter into the game of golf? And we all know the benefits that golf has. So that's pretty much my whole shtick.
The benefit that golf has, increasing my stress level, throwing clubs, all of that stuff that goes along with it. You played, and I'm sure you probably played other sports too.
Yes.
We talk about baseball all the time. Like a guy broke a bat over his leg last night and had a temper tantrum out on the field.
Yes.
And everybody was making fun of him for it. But in golf, there's lots of temper tantrums to be had if you're not having a good day. How do you approach the mental side of it, Will?
Well, I think, just got to make sure you see the end from the beginning before you start a round. One thing about golf, the results and hard work that you put your blood, sweat, and tears in doesn't come until late, and you just got to understand that, hey, I know I'm putting my work in. I may not get the fruit of my labor so quickly, but we are aware that, it's a slow, steady progress.
The other part about this is we have this hole-in-one challenge out here, and what my pitch to people is this. Hey, man, you got like a 6-7-year-old, come out here, let him try. And I know he's going to hit it into the water, or she's going to hit it into the water. Good. Take the video, take the picture. Next year, come back to Summerfest. They do this every year. Let them try again. Because once they get it on at 12 or 13 years old, it's going to be like the happiest time ever. There's confidence is going to be up, all of that. And it's going to be a whole big deal of how that all builds up over the course of time. You've got to figure out, I think, how to build kids' confidence up. Because if they don't have confidence early, they're going to quit. Yeah. They're going to decide to do something else.
Absolutely. We know the mental stress and the mental engagement that comes with golf. But that's what makes Lexus so dope, because Lexus is trying to figure out, and not so much trying to figure out, they have figured out this could be another entry point to the game of golf. You come out here to Summerfest, hit a golf ball, hitting over water, something aesthetically pleasing to the eye, something cool, something you don't get to see every day. And Lexus is really just trying to figure out, how can we get people who come from a different world, different clubhouse, see our cars, but how can we grow golf through our vehicles? And that's pretty much what Lexus is doing. They're doing a great job of that.
Let me ask you this. When Tiger Woods got good, he obviously exploded the game of golf.
Yes.
From all different backgrounds and everything else, it grew it. Now Tiger Woods is pretty much done at this point. Do you think the game is still at the same level that it was? Do you think there's more room to grow the game? More so than it is already. Obviously, the prize pools on tour are still all ginormous, and they're still doing really well there. Because when Tiger came on, the prize money wasn't nearly as close as what it was by the time Tiger was pretty much done at this point. So I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about from the interest of people going out to the course, people going to the driving range. Like, I mean, where do you live? Where do you live full time?
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, so you don't have this issue. But here it gets cold.
Yes.
Like really cold, right?
Yes.
So you have these driving ranges where they have heaters. And they have all these games that you can play in the winter. These guys are out there in shorts and T-shirts and they're hitting into the snow at targets or whatever, so people can play golf literally year-round here and continue to work on their game.
Yeah, I think it's a twofold question. When we see that the game of golf is growing, yes, from the the digital content space. We understand that there's this digital boom that is coming in golf, and how golfers, how the audience is consuming golf these days. When you're thinking about it, 52 million people are consuming golf via social media daily. 2 billion are doing it weekly via TikTok.
Oh.
So, but when you think about the PGA Tour, that's where it gets a little sketchy because they haven't quite really got the audience from the new digital boom over into the PGA Tour world. So that's why I think I come in. As a 40-year-old who's in the middle of both worlds, I know about the old gatekeepers who want to make sure that we specialize tradition, and I also know about the young generation who wants to play golf, but they may not. They may alienate tradition. So we got to figure out how we can bridge that gap. Because I feel like there's going to be a golf civil war.
You're too old for this. You're too old.
You know what?
You're 40. Listen to me. My producer, you can see him on YouTube back there. He just graduated college just about a year ago. And him and I have these debates all the time.
Yeah.
His generation, they don't even watch full games. They watch highlights on TikTok and then have an opinion of how good somebody is based on a highlight on TikTok. So how do you keep somebody sitting down watching 3 hours of golf?
And that's the thing. You got to carefully craft concepts so we can, have the gatekeepers understand, hey, these kids can think outside the box, but also we got to realize that you can't alienate tradition. So they got to know what Johnny Miller did in 1973, the U.S. Open at Oakmont.
Charlie, who's Johnny Miller?
Great question. He did something in Oakmont. I know that.
See,
right,
that's the thing,
and that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here, Charlie. So, over the course of time, and obviously pairing up with Lexus, we're going to get you to understand who Johnny Miller, who Corey Pavin, who Jack Nicklaus is or was.
How's it feel to be an old head?
You know what?
It drives me nuts.
It's a bittersweet. You got the young generation, calling me uncle, and I'm like, thank you, I think. So I don't know. So it's definitely a catch-22.
All right, I got two more things. One, I'm on to let you plug away all your social media, everything on the end. But if you had a parent that was listening right now and they have, kids that are 9, 10 years old that are kind of thinking about golf or whatever else, what would be your advice as far as what they should do first with their kids, as far as going to the driving range? What should they work on first? How do you get them involved? Mini golf is fun, but that's not real.
Yeah.
So how do you get them involved? What would you tell them to do?
I would say, probably take a visit of your local first tee program, Boys and Girls Club, to see if they want to take an interest. But one thing about it, if you see a kid that, rise up when they hit a ball far or in the air, you got something.
Yep.
You got something. And it gives me chills to this day that how many kids have started from an event like this with Lexus, where they just hit a ball. They may not make it to the 141 yards away to the green, but they hit in the water in the air. And you'd be surprised how that it just takes off. And and I've been in so many situations because I work with kids. I don't know if you know Steph Curry. He has a junior golf tour.
Never heard of him. Who's Steph Curry?
Yeah, just this beige guy. He has a junior golf tour, and we've seen so many kids that got started, and then eventually 3-4 years later, they're like, I'm ready to play in your tournaments. I'm like, you just hit a ball for the first time three years ago.
And you're going.
Yeah, you're going. So that's what makes this the game so great. It doesn't matter what time you start. It's better to be great late than good early on.
Ooh, that's good. You got that on a T-shirt?
I'm going to put it on a T-shirt since you like that.
That's really good.
Charlie, don't take my idea now.
Yeah, that's really good.
I won't.
That's really good. All right, so how do people follow you? How do people get all your stuff?
Will Lowry Golf on Instagram. Same thing on TikTok. And we have a YouTube, Crosshand Productions, Crosshand Media. And we're just... more important, just go follow Lexus.
Crosshands?
Yeah, crosshand. I play golf cross-handed. So...
What do you mean you play golf cross-handed?
So you got the traditional,
left, the pinkies,
yeah, right hand,
front finger,
well, I have a left-handed grip, but play right-handed. So I'm one of a kind in the full house.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Interview's over. All right,
wait a second. Hold on. So if I go, wait a second. So I go on Instagram, I can see you with this crazy grip trying to do this nonsense.
Yeah. Yes, it's a grip and swing only mother could love. Yes.
Did people tell you this was nuts when you were trying before you failed? When you said you failed.
Yeah, all the time. But
you didn't listen.
But when they realized I can go shoot a 66 and 600 par, they kind of back off like, man, this is a genius idea. This is you're a perfect marketing genius right here.
But do you teach it?
No, I don't teach it. But what I would say is if you'd be surprised when a kid naturally holds a golf club, they're naturally holding it with the left hand low.
Sure.
Now, I'm not gonna change. I'm like you're in the right track with me. So Yeah, I don't change at all. I'm all for it.
Y'all need to go watch his YouTube video because he lights up. I'm not changing. It don't matter. I'm not changing. It worked. I'm not changing it.
Absolutely.
Will Lowry, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you.
Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Charlie Usen back in the station. I want research. By Monday, I want a full report on who Johnny Miller is.
All right.
By Monday. I want you to come on the air and educate all the people of your age who Johnny Miller is.
Listen to my guy Will Lowry, and I'll learn.
That's correct.
I'll get up on it.
Yes, go study and get yourself ready for that. Looking forward to that coming up on Monday. Again, the Hole-in-One Challenge out here brought to you by Lexus. This is where you want to be. Like he said, man, bring your little kids out here. Try it out. Even if they hit it into the water. And Will's absolutely right. If they see it going in the air, that's going to feel like a positive moment. That's going to boost their confidence and get them more into the game of golf. Definitely want to take advantage of that. All right, so since I have no idea how much time is left, Charlie, how much time is left?
We got about a minute. I was just about to start playing the close music for
That's good. He plays the close music every time. I can't hear anything out here at Summerfest when he plays the close music. We're out here by the Generac Power Stage. We're back out here on Thursday. Next Thursday, we'll be back out here again with Wisconsin Sports Daily. There is a small kid crying because I'm talking on the radio. That's very defeating. That's not the way to end my Friday. He's looking at me, screaming and crying and pointing at me like,
most
you
people
suck.
Most people don't cry, Sparky, so it's okay.
I mean, I make my kids cry, but it was a complete stranger kid. And even had headphones on and was still screaming at me.
You're a little loud sometimes. What can I say?
It's not a good way to go into the weekend. Enjoy your weekend. Come on out here, hang out at Summerfest. Don't forget, 6 o'clock leadoff show powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook with Tommy Wirtz. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. If you see Charlie Usen out this weekend at Summerfest, he's coming out here. Ask for his autograph. Stream us on YouTube at The Fan Milwaukee if you want to see what he looks like. Have a good one. Toodles!